Bolt your windows. Lock your doors. Check your closets. Look under your bed. And then prepare yourself. For it's another episode of Dark Night of the Podcast.
I don't mind spending some time just hanging here with you, 'cause I don't find too many guys that treat me like you do, Troy, and I'm satisfied. Oh, even if the gods are crazy, even though the stars are blind. Troy, come on. I'm going to say right now, Paris Hilton is often underrated when it comes to acknowledging her contributions to pop culture. And we're gonna just put it out there, jumping into this fucking interview. This is a pro Paris Hilton motherfucking podcast. What do you have to say, Troy?
Absolutely pro Paris Hilton. I can get really fucking worked up talking about the backlash that she got for this film, because I think it is completely unwarranted. And the only reason she got all kinds of backlash for this film, and like she got a Razzie Award nomination for this film, had nothing to do, zero to do with her acting, but everything to do with her persona. And I think that's fucking bullshit.
I always have found Paris Hilton to be a kind of a just mesmerizing individual, because there is such a persona that is portrayed, for the majority of what she does when it comes to her overall impact on pop culture. When you think of her, you think of that just breathy, just completely airheaded, just the same kind of Jessica Simpson vibes that we got from her back from that same era. You had a lot of these blonde, dare I say, bimbo-esque portrayals that were coming across from girls that I think were truly, genuinely a bit smarter, a bit savvier, and a bit more talented than these personas allowed them to actually be. And I really do think Paris Hilton is an example of someone who is an amazing businesswoman, first and foremost, but also somebody who is kind of unfairly put in this category of being someone whose fame does not match their overall scale of talents. And I think, like I started this episode off, I think the song Stars Are Blind is one of the best fucking pop songs from the 2000s in general. I think there's a reason that song has had longevity and stuck around, and it's just because it's a great fucking pop song and she gives a fun performance in it. But also when it comes to cinema, her contributions, especially within the horror genre, because you got this, and you also have
Repo the Genetic Opera, which we covered on our Patreon.
Yes. You also have Repo the Genetic Opera, and this is, kind of a subgenre in a way for her, where she's thrived, I think, and at least has the respect of the gay horror fan base. I do know that, because this is a film, the title we're going to cover today, where we look back on it, and I think time has in many ways been kind to this title, and I'm thankful for that, because I do think it is genuinely an entertaining fucking movie.
Absolutely, Roger. And if you show me real love, baby, I'll show you mine. Fucking pop perfection. Pop perfection.
And we know pop. The two of us, Troy and I, we fucking know pop. I mean, get us talking about Nelly Furtado. Watch out. That's a podcast we're waiting to start. Troy and Roger take on all the hits of Nelly Furtado. That's our next break-off podcast, Troy. Just you and me breaking down every fucking song, all of them.
But yeah, this episode is a long time coming. We covered of such an obscure but charming little gem last week, Epitaph, that we really hope that we opened your eyes to this little obscure gem. If you'd never seen it before, hopefully you got a chance to watch it. So this week we decided we needed to do something that has a much more prominence among gay horror fans, particularly like millennials, because this film, came out right smack dab in the middle of the decade, the 2000s. It came out in 2005, and it's interesting because that time period was really it wasn't really about slasher films at this point. It was about the torture porn, the saws, and that sort of thing. So this film came out, follows pretty much slasher conventions. I don't think it did very well when it came out. It was critically obviously trashed. I don't think the box office return for this was very good. But I think you are right in saying that this is a title that has definitely gained respect as the years have gone on, much like Scream 4. Would you not agree?
Oh, I absolutely feel that there's a good reason for this film having an expanding and ever growing fan base. Because I do feel like the more I see this title brought up, the more it is celebrated. And I think a lot of that is because one of the things this film did really well is it both embraced a lot of the tropes of the era. Like there are, some very cliche moments down to the goddamn handy cam. I can't wait to discuss that goddamn fucking camera footage because it just feels so of the era. But in contrast, there's also some choices that this film makes, and the director Kwame Colette Serra, this is not his only horror title. He also did Orphan, and he also did The Shallows, 2016. And so obviously he has a good idea for the genre. He knows what he's doing, but he does allow this film to kind of thrive in its moments where it both, I think, embraces the fact that it's a remake of a 1950s movie, down to the grand score and some of the influences that we have during the more dramatic horror moments. But it also feels, in some ways, very progressive in its character structures, at least between some of the stronger relationships we see here. And I'm really kind of impressed, revisiting this film. And just across the board, I think it's so fucking entertaining. But I do feel it's worth noting that this film does have kind of an unsung hero in Elisha Cuthbert and her performance of Carly. I think if we're going to talk about the progressive elements of this film, I think it has a rather strong female lead who goes through some rather surprising, I'll say honestly, downright shocking physical brutality in ways that I don't think we've seen a lot of other final girls experience. I mean, we're talking like long-term wounds that will have a long-term impact. This character will never have a tip of her finger ever again. And I just think it's kind of impressive some of the choices they made for a 2005 slasher. You're right, this really was not the era of the slasher. They managed to blend a lot of concepts together and create something that I think was a little ahead of its time in a lot of ways. What do you think?
Well, she was also one of the, during this time period, you had a lot of those white wife beater final girls. You know, like Jessica Biel, Mary Elizabeth Winstead in the Thing remake. There was just I don't know, it was a phenomena of all these final girls and white wife beaters. And Alicia Cuthbert definitely stands out among the best of them because you're right. It's a very physical performance from her. And I mean, I think we should dive right in to this film because there's going to be a lot to say. A lot to say.
Oh, yeah. And we know the fan base has been waiting for this. So, guys, this one's for you. Troy, let's begin our review of the 2005 remake of House of Wax. It's all been coming down to this, guys. This is a title that Troy and I have thrown back and forth, brought up so many times, but it always felt like we were kind of saving it for something special, I guess. And I don't know. I mean, we're coming up on episode 130. This is 130, right, Troy?
It is, and I think that's worth celebrating. Help us celebrate, guys. 130 episodes we've done. We've actually done way more than that when you count our Patreon, which I mentioned a couple weeks ago. We have over 100 episodes on there. So, but we've brought you 130 main feed episodes. So help us celebrate by spreading the love. First, share this podcast with friends. If you have friends that are horror fans and listen to podcast, maybe give them a suggestion. Suggest this, spread the word, share it on social media, increase our listenership. And secondly, that 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating. If you're inclined, write us a little review. because that would really help us. And we're picking up steam. I see our weekly listenership grow and grow, and it just tickles my heart, Roger, because me and you we're not backed by any horror blog. We are not backed by anything. We literally record these episodes from my little office, your little wherever your bedroom, I know you've been staying with friends for the last couple weeks. It's just me and you. We record them. I edit them unprofessionally because trust me. And so we're putting this stuff out, and we love doing it. We love talking horror. We love hearing your feedback. And yeah, I think 130 episodes is something we're celebrating, and I can't think of a better title than this one, because this film has so much going for it, so much, just like our podcast, it has so much sizzle and electricity around it. This film is just a feast for your eyes.
Sex factor too. It has a lot of sex factor.
No, just like us, right?
Well, according to some of our fans, maybe that's another reason to give that 5-star review. But yeah, no, this film, I think that it is in a lot of ways it is a perfect time capsule of the era, because so much of the talent in this movie, we're really kind of in the peak of the prime of their success. I'm not saying that a bunch of them didn't go on to have further success. I freaking love Elisha Cuthbert in Happy Endings, the TV show Happy Endings. So underrated, and she's so good at comedy. Oh my gosh! But yeah, in this she's really playing like kind of in a lot of ways the stereotypical just of the era final girl mold that you expect, but she does bring a lot of personality to the role, as does everybody for the most part. Even characters that maybe feel like they aren't as fleshed out, the natural charisma that this cast brings forward allows them to shine, like John Abrahams in his role here. This is kind of a disposable role. He doesn't really get a ton to do, but he's so charismatic on camera that I still really enjoy my experience watching him. So I'm thankful for that. And I do think that the talent amongst the cast does elevate the product, which really is kind of like a by-the-numbers slasher, or so it begins. But it does allow itself to kind of explore a lot of unique, interesting concepts and themes and storylines that the original House of Wax did not at all. I mean, in a lot of ways, this is not really a remake of House of Wax. It's a remake of a lot of films from the 60s and 70s, I think, that came forward and influenced this movie prominently.
Well, the one influence that I get from this film, the film that if I would say, if somebody held a gun to my head and said, okay, what film is 2005's House of Wax a remake of? I would say Tourist Trap. A film that I covered with a guest host, Brett Laurie, a couple, maybe 5, 6, 7 episodes ago. But this film has so much in common with Tourist Trap, and I cannot believe that the writers did not take heavy inspiration from Tourist Trap, because it has way more in common with Tourist Trap than it does the original House of Wax. Way more in common. I mean, just there's scenes in Tourist Trap of people having wax, their face covered with plaster, much like we see in this film. But like I said, we're going to have a lot to say about this film, so we should just dive right in to this plot.
Oh, absolutely. And right from like the very first shot, you see that this film is definitely a glossier, Hollywoodified remake, if you will. I mean, that visual of the wax dripping down the edge of the counter, immediately setting the tone for the film, and doing it with a rather artistic eye. This whole opening sequence where you're introduced to this flashback of this family that is very dysfunctional. There's a lot of abuse going on all ends of the table. But you get this like faceless family. They're shot in a way where you're not seeing any of their faces, but you are seeing their bodies, and the physicality of all of it is really exaggerated, and it works. And it has this whole scenario of this child, this horrible, fucking just horrible child. Makes me want to never have kids seeing this kid, because I know kids get like this. It's fucking hitting his mother and smacking things, throwing shit, and the mom and the dad end up having to tape the kid down to the fucking high chair. I get it. In this case, I absolutely get it. And eventually the mother is driven to to backhanding the child, which again, I get it. I'm not condoning it, but God, this kid is a fucking demon spawn. What does this opening scene do for you, Troy?
I mean, yeah, I kept thinking to myself, okay, I thought I saw the most annoying child in a film ever when I watched The Babadook. But this film reminded me, hey, maybe that little fucking bastard from the Babadook has some competition, because this kid, yeah, screaming its fucking hat off, kicking, and I get it. Maybe he doesn't want to be tied to a fucking high chair, but then calm your ass down, you know. And all the while, the mother or the father is making him that what we find out that making him those a wax mask to wear, which comes into play later in the film. I mean, it's an abrupt opening. It's a very abrasive opening, but I think it really does set the tone for the film.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you do get these shots intercut of the presence of another child who's peacefully eating cereal. He's not doing
He's
anything wrong.
he's just trying to enjoy his Cheerios, and the little bastard's kicking, screaming.
Oh my God, it really does introduce an idea that does carry through the whole progression of the film. The idea of is there a good twin and a bad twin? Does one twin take on the negative traits? One twin take on the positive traits? It plays with this a lot. I mean, this whole movie is fueled by siblings, including two siblings that we're about to meet here in the next few moments, because we come out of that flashback and we're in right into the goddamn French fry, dipping into the ketchup. And I love it. I love it so much. I love that shot. I love the first thing that we see is Paris fucking Hilton eating those fries, sitting there with Elisha Cuthbert, being a good friend, talking about this absurd trip they're going on with all these men.
Oh, and let's talk about these men they're going on this trip with. I mean, talk about, who's who of young hot actors at the time. We get Nick, who is Carly's twin brother, played by Chad Michael Murray from One Tree Hill, correct?
Oh my God, Chad Michael Murray looking fucking hot in this movie.
He looks hot. He's a kind of an asshole. It takes a really long time for you to warm up to him as a character, because he is such a fucking prick. And I get that's the point of his character, but it's a little too much for me, considering like how how sweet and like down to earth the Carly character is. But I get it, because you mentioned the whole idea of playing with the idea of evil twin versus good twin, and we get that dynamic with these two, because he even says at some point, I'm the evil twin, remember? And he just plays into that whole stereotype that he feels has been pressured on him. But you also get Wade, played by Jared Padalecki from Supernatural, from the Friday the 13th remake. A young, fresh-faced Jared Padalecki, I should say.
Oh, a cherub. He's a cherub in this film.
And he's playing Carly's boyfriend. We also got Blake, who is Paris Hilton's boyfriend, and then we get John Abrams of Scary Movie fame, who is playing Dalton. So it's quite a hot cast, I would say.
Oh God, a hot fucking cast. All of them are attractive, and almost unbelievably so. But as they do get a chance to kind of based in their characters, I really think that again everyone's personality comes across really strong. I do have to say, Chad Michael Murray, very of this era, beautiful, handsome, blonde, lean, muscular. You see him shirtless later. But I'm surprised at just how gritty this role is, and I think he actually plays it pretty damn well, even when it comes down to the physicality that comes up here. Because yeah, he is a fucking asshole, but I do think his rough around the edges demeanor comes in very handy, because when shit hits the fan, it's an important trait of who he is, and he's able to fight, he's able to run, he's able to move fast. I mean, he's an athlete, and you do learn a little bit about his backstory too, which kind of lends to why he's so hostile. It's no excuse at the beginning of this film, but he is definitely kind of a miserable character to start. But he does the most with the character he's given. I think he's actually quite great in this role.
Well, through some conversation, we find out that Carly has an internship in New York City with InStyle magazine. Wade is not too pleased that she invited Nick along, because he is an asshole. Everyone acknowledges it, and he even makes the comment. He says something like, "Oh, I thought your parents were going to post bail for him again." Right away, I mean, we are hammering it home that this guy is kind of bad news. He said he's done jail time. Nobody really seems to like him except perhaps Blake and Dalton, because Carly does say that Blake is the one that invited him. And speaking of Blake, we do get a moment with Paris Hilton. Paige, we'll call her Paige, that's her character's name, goes out to her boyfriend Blake, played by Robert Richard. He tells her that he found a shortcut that would save them an hour. And we also find out they're going to they're on their way to a football game, a big football game. Much like any good slasher setup, you got to get a group of young, attractive people, put them in a fucking car, send them to a concert, send them out somewhere so their fucking car can break down. And that's exactly what happens here.
That is exactly what happens. And we also get to witness Nick assault a homeless man, which really just, again, hits home just how fucking awful he is to start here. I got to say, Blake, holy shit, beautiful man. Those eyes. Do you see how beautiful his eyes are? Oh my God, I'm in love with them. But yeah, so they get really quick to the point that they're on this fucking road trip, going to this game, finding a shortcut. It's all set up for you. And things are kind of moving. And it's moving fast. And the pacing of this film, even the moments that are supposed to be taking their time and I think kind of building suspense and so forth, overall, this is a movie that kind of jumps right into it. Like, you get some exposition. It's not heavy-handed, but pretty fucking quickly we're setting up the scenario for them to end up in what is this environment that they have no control over. And it really is kind of great that they just kind of get things moving. They all load up into their vehicles, and they're off.
They're off. And I have to acknowledge, Roger, that this is a 2-hour-long film as well. I mean, it's just maybe 5 minutes shy of 2 hours. So it is quite a long film, particularly for a slasher film. I mean, slasher films generally aren't this long unless they're a Scream sequel. But this one, when I put it on and I looked at the time, I'm like, oh shit, I didn't realize this film was almost 2 hours long. With that said, I do think the pacing helps quite a bit because it never feels like it is that long. It pretty much moves along at a brisk pace. We are launched into the action right away, even to the point where I even think that some of the characterization of these characters, even though we get to know them a little bit, I do think a lot of it is shortchanged, but I'm fine with that because of the pacing of the film moves so steadily. And like we could have spent some more time with Paris, with the Paige character and her boyfriend. I think these are the two characters that we get the least amount of time with, but I feel like people already feel like they know Paris Hilton and probably figured she was just playing herself. And so why give her extra characterization? But yeah, they get into their SUVs. Well, Blake is in his SUV. The other group is in a convertible or like a Corvette. And there's this moment I do like where they are driving beside the group sees Paige giving Blake a blowjob.
Yeah. If there's one thing about this film that I guess I have a bit of a gripe with, it's just the fact that, around this time, Paris had that fucking sex tape. Like, we get it, and they are sure hammering it home. And like, I understand handheld cameras at this time were prevalent. They were pretty much everywhere. People were filming everything. It was right before the start of the internet and YouTube becoming really, really what it is. But this is kind of what drove it to that point, because handheld cameras were just becoming a mainstream thing. And I feel like these are the only moments where the pacing does get off a little bit. And it does make the film feel dated. It makes it feel very dated in these moments. They do use the handy cam to their advantage in a few scenes, but they really, I think, kind of beat this dead horse way too hard. I mean, their usage of the handycam trope is the only thing about this movie I could have really done without. And especially because, yes, I understand people are coming into this knowing Paris Hilton's in it, but she's fine in the fucking role. Just give her the character, let her do her thing. You don't have to be winking at the audience oh look, we got Paris Hilton, let's kind of humiliate her and acknowledge the fact she has a sex tape. No, the story is doing fine on its own. She's doing fine on her own. You don't need to add in this really dated pop culture reference that just is not going to hold up. So that's the one thing I have a gripe with.
Well, I think Paris was in on the joke, and she even did the whole marketing for this film where she was like, "Oh, watch Paris die." And I know she's later come out and said that it did really upset her that she was used in that sort of way to market the film, because she did want to be taken seriously. And so it is quite sad that they did play into that persona, play into the sex tape with her when she really, really, really just wanted to be in this film and deliver a solid performance. And I really think that she does that. And like I said, it really pisses me off that people give her hate for this film when she is no worse than any other secondary character from a slasher film. I mean, you take another pop star. I'm looking okay, so like Willa Ford, who was in the Friday the 13th remake. Paris Hilton is probably better than she was, but you don't see her getting a lot of slack because Paris had this persona. She was easy to dislike and make fun of.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, while they do pass a sign for Trudy's House of Wax. And Wade's like, "Oh, look at that, a House of Wax. That's cool." And Nick makes this kind of asshole comment about, "Oh, you like that, Wade?" And he's like, "Oh, sure." And he's like, "Yeah, it seems like you like stuff that's pretending to be other stuff. Right, sis?" I mean, just these little jabs he's making at his sister, like, Jesus Christ, dude, you're a fucking prick. Just shut up.
Yeah.
In the meantime, Carly and Paige call each other and they decide that they are going to camp, find a place to camp for the night so that they don't have to continue driving. And that's what they do. They drive down this remote road, park their cars in a field, and get out and just have some shenanigans.
A completely innocent game of football breaks out between the boys, and quickly it spirals just into Nick making more unlikable comments. And at this point, people are getting sick of it. He's confronted. His sister calls him out, and they break into an argument that really, I mean, needed to happen. And he doesn't necessarily like heed her advice or anything. Like it's not like he's like going to appease her. He kind of makes fun of her. I mean, he does. He makes fun of her wanting to go off to New York, and he is really cruel. But it's made very clear that they have a very tense relationship, and she doesn't necessarily want him to be there either. So yeah, they're just laying it on thick, slathering it on there that this guy's just a prick.
It's revealed that he's being a prick to her because he believes that she turned him in for stealing a car. And she's like, "No, I did not turn you in. You were at mom and dad's house. They came. They knew you were there." And then she does launch into this, you don't take responsibility for anything. Everything is everybody's fault. You've never been able to hold a job. When you got kicked off the football team, it was the coach's fault. She's like, "Grow up some." And he's like, "You don't understand. I'm the bad twin. You're the good twin." So he's like playing that. You can tell she is over him. She is over him.
And she's not scared to stand up for herself, and that's one aspect of this character that carries through. Like, this character, Carly, has a lot of fight in her. She is not a damsel in distress. Even when she is a damsel in distress, she is very proactive. She's quick thinking, and it's one of her most likable traits. But they do show here that she's like, she's not going to take this bullshit from him anymore. And I do like how strong-willed she is.
Yeah, well, there's a moment when the wind kind of picks up and they all get a whiff of something that they all think smells awful. They're like, "What the fuck is that?" Ugh, ugh. And then we get more shenanigans, the handheld stuff that you've mentioned. We get Dalton filming the group, to their displeasure. You get Blake and Nick chatting about like why he stole the car. They give Dalton a makeover, put him in like a yellow jacket and some sunglasses. And then they film, he films everyone kissing. I mean, it's just, again, very much a little montage of shenanigans through the lens of this handheld camera that Dalton has.
It goes on. I mean, it goes on for a while.
It does.
But it is like very much, I think, like their moment of like, let's really develop a bond between these characters before we kill them. Because that is coming up very, very, very soon here. As soon as these headlights hit, it's the camera's off and we're right back into the movie. And there is somebody who has parked their truck on the edge of this field, and is just, glaring these bright headlights at them. So they don't get a clear view of the guy. They barely see the vehicle at all. But the men immediately start, puffing their chests out, and every man here is trying to outman each other. And Nick again, being an asshole, grabs a beer bottle, he chucks it at the headlight, busts it out, the vehicle drives away. And we're setting the groundwork here for what is now going to be the antagonist through the course of the film. And I think it's a rather effective scene. It's quick, but like now that ominous presence is established, and it maintains for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, but I'm like, Nick, that probably wasn't a good decision. You don't know who's in that truck, and you don't know what sort of weapons they have. Somebody could have got out of that truck and just fucking shot him. I mean, that's what I kept thinking. I'm like, really? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? But
yeah, I mean, his character is a why would you do that though? Like that. I'm not saying it's a great call, but everything he does seems to be the wrong choice.
True. Well, I mean, it results in some negative consequences because that night, while they're all sleeping, we get a POV of someone going through their campgrounds, going through their things. Carly, she actually hears this and she wakes up and she tells Wayne, she wakes Wayne up and she's like, Wayne, I heard something. And his response is, it's probably a serial killer. Just go back to sleep. Yeah, you think?
Dead on. You're right. You're absolutely right. And I will say that the obnoxious overusage of the camera up to this point, at least there is a payoff. Like, they do utilize this footage now for what is a rather suspenseful sequence with Carly kind of stalking around the tents, watching her. Whoever it is that stalked through and was peering through their tents, they filmed it on the camera. You're seeing it through that perspective. And it is actually really uncomfortable as it does these close-ups on their faces while they're sleeping.
Yeah, well, Carly gets out of the tent again, leading to your explanation of her character being just like bold, no nonsense. She's gonna actually take charge because uh, she gets out of the tent. Like I wouldn't if I heard something out there. My ass is staying in that fucking tent. She gets out of that tent. She's wandering around. We get a jump scare because Wade comes up behind her and startles her, and they go back into the tent. And the person that's watching them continues to do so until the next day when it's 2:30, and I'm thinking it must be 2:30 p.m. Right? This
Oh
group's
my
up till
God.
2:30 p.m. That seems a little extreme to me.
Well, I mean, let's be real, Troy. What have you ever gone camping? First of all, I'm saying like camping. I'm saying like you're pitching a tent. You're not sleeping on a fucking bed in someone's cabin. Like you are laying on the ground camping.
Once when I was very young, yes.
It's not comfortable at all. It is very unpleasant, and you sleep in till about 7 a.m. and then you get up and you make bacon. And I don't buy it. I don't buy that all of these people slept till 2:30 p.m. Like, I mean, I guess, like, okay, they're supposed to be like college students making bad choices, whatever. My body couldn't physically do it. So I'm not sure what sedatives these people are taking to help them sleep. But 2:30 p.m., that's problematic.
Well, yeah, especially they're trying to get to this football game. And of course, Blake wakes up in a frenzy and he's like throwing shit around, trying to get everyone up. It's 2:30. It's 2:30, guys. Come on, come on. Dalton cannot find his camera. Dun, dun, dun.
Kind of thank God in a way. Like, I'm happy it's gone now.
Yeah, Paige and Carly, they're in the woods changing when they smell that smell again. Something I forgot to mention earlier on is there is a brief conversation at the beginning of the film that reveals that Paige may be pregnant and that she doesn't really want to tell Blake because she doesn't want to start a fight this weekend. It doesn't really go anywhere, but it is kind of a recurring topic of conversation between these two. Oh, you got to tell Blake. Well, no, I'm going to wait, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, they go in, they're changing in the woods. They smell that fucking smell again. Carly, of course, because she's a take charge type of gal, she wants to go see what this fucking smell is.
Few things. This powder blue fucking jumpsuit. Let's just take a moment. If we're going to talk about iconic wardrobe choices from this era, I saw this powder blue jumpsuit. I coveted it. I wanted a velour powder blue jumpsuit for myself. Oh my God. And she looks so Paris Hilton in this. But doesn't that thing look comfortable, Troy?
Oh, her wardrobe. She has that long the blue gown later on for her chase scene. I mean, she is all about comfort. She's wearing like tracksuits throughout the whole film. I mean, Paris was fucking comfortable filming this.
And her hair looks great. That big platinum blonde, like just like ponytail or whatever is just pinned up. I mean, yes, we're taking a moment to acknowledge the physicality of the characters, but the setup here is quite phenomenal because you've got Carly busting through the woods, and you've got Paige chasing after her. And again, I think that Paris is actually really good in this whole scene when she's faking the nausea and everything. It's really effective, and it leads up to this moment where Carly just runs forward and doesn't realize that the ground gives out underneath her and goes into basically a ravine. And there's this great sequence of Carly sliding down this hillside all the way down into this what is dumping ground for roadkill, and it is a comedically large amount of deer carcasses. Like they must have killed every deer within a 20-mile radius, but tell me the scene isn't fucking effective.
It's disgusting. I can definitely smell. I mean, I can't even imagine what it fucking smells like. Because what state are they supposed to be in? I think they're in Louisiana. I think this is supposed to be Louisiana because I think they mentioned an LSU game. You could correct me if I don't know where the fuck that's, but I'm assuming it's someplace hot. It's either like Louisiana, Texas, Arizona. I don't know where the fuck they are, but it looks hot. It looks miserable. The stench has to be horrible. Not only that, we get the moments of poor Carly, like she's landed in all these deer guts and she's trying to claw her way out of this pit, and gross. But is this something that really people really do? Is there such a thing as somebody that just goes around and picks up deer carcasses and has a designated pit to throw them in? Am I missing? I grew up in Iowa and I don't remember ever seeing or hearing about this.
I think this is something that was conceptualized specific for this movie, and I guess I don't know. Like, is this this man's career, as we come to find out, or is he just doing this on his free time? Regardless, someone's driving around picking up deer carcasses, and in the middle of the carcasses, there is a very evident hand, and everyone runs over. They're helping her. You got Chad Michael Murray taking off his shirt, giving her a wife beater, showing off that body. I mean, people talk about Ryan Felipe. I get it, but come on. This is looking good.
Oh, my God. I do remember this scene specifically, and they were smart with the marketing because the scene of him shirtless standing at the edge of this pit with this white underwear peeking out from his jeans, they played this one up, and I was like, fuck yeah. I remember the 2005, he was looking damn good. We also have to mention that during the kind of right before she slides down the hill, we get a moment of Wade trying to start his car, and it won't start. And when he opens the hood, he realizes his fan belt has snapped. That's important.
Very important. Major playing factor here. The boys hear the screams. They run over to help. At this point, you get to see just a hint of Nick's just overall, I would say, physicality, capabilities, because you see him just scaling this hillside very capably. And again, these things come into play later. But as they were pulling her out of these guts, this poor fucking girl, you do see this just rough looking truck pull up, and this homely white trash man. Who is this man, Troy?
I feel like he would clean up quite well, actually. I bet you in real life he's hot, and they just had to give him some fake teeth, slap some grease on his face, and make him talk in that exaggerated redneck hillbilly accent. But yeah, this dude just looks like he would smell. Like, this is somebody you don't want to come near you.
Oh my God! I mean, so the actor, just to be clear, his name is Damon Harriman. He is very cute. But yeah, they really went out of their way to just not do this man any favors. And he's supposed to be gross because, like, immediately there's an intimidating factor about him. Even though he's being so fucking nice to these people, like, they're intimidated, and I get it. It's the teeth. I'm a teeth guy too, and the teeth look gross. But he walks over to the hand. They're all like, "Look at that! Do you see that?" He walks over, he grabs it, he pulls the hand out of the guts, and lo and behold, it's not a real hand. It's a wax hand. And so this here is kind of the first connection to what is, the wax house that we saw earlier, the street sign that they drove by. This is the first piece of connecting factor to what's to come. I love that they placed this little detail in there, that fake hand, because obviously the rest of the movie is building up to what is a shit ton of wax mannequins.
Well, it is okay. So it is mentioned that in front of this hillbilly guy that Wade needs a fan belt, specifically a 15-inch fan belt. He's not going anywhere. He's not going to leave his car because Blake is like, let's just go. We'll go. We need to get to the game. After the game, I'll bring you back and we'll take care of the car there. And Wade is adamant. He's like, I am not leaving my car. What if that guy from last night comes back and, fucking destroys my car? Which logical concern considering you fucking busted out his headlight. So the gentleman mentions that there's a gas station maybe like 15 miles down the road, and he has no problem taking him there. Blake is like, fuck yeah, go. I'm not going to miss the game. We'll swing by on the way back and get you. So Carly is adamant that she wants to go with Wade. She's not going to go on to this game. Instead, they agree to get in this redneck's truck and trek with him to this town. So when they're in the truck, it's just very awkward. It's very awkward because Carly is like, oh, I don't know how I just can't deal with that smell. The dude is like, oh, trust me, you get used to it. If you're around something long enough, you definitely get used to it. And then he just like randomly takes out a fucking knife that they notice.
Oh, he loves that knife. He's proud of that fucking
I know.
knife.
He's like, this could cut through anything. And he like stabs it into his dashboard. I would be like freaking out too. My true crime ass has heard so many fucking stories about hitchhikers. I am never getting in someone else's fucking car. This guy would scare the shit out of me. When they finally get to the road, the end of the road and the road that leads to this town, it's washed out. The dude, the driver, doesn't think it's a big deal. It's like, hey, come out and help me set my hubcaps and I'll drive right through it. And Wade and Carly are like, no, thank you. We are going to walk. Let us out.
They're a little bit pretentious with this very pleasant man.
I agree.
But I get it. And their instincts are right, what we come to find out. But right now, he does seem like he's being very nice. But he also, like, it's worth noting, this is the point where she transitions from normal ensemble to wife beater, because she had guts all over her shirt. So now she's in a wife beater. He's watching her change. He's like, watching her. Now he's in the car next to her. He's looking at her like, ooh, yeah. And they're really layering it on thick with this guy that he is, creepy, that he's meant to make them uncomfortable, because he's really not in a lot of the movie at all. Like, this is really his only big moment aside from one other reveal later. But he arrives at this point where they have to get out of the vehicle and they decide to walk, and he's very offended by it. And it's such like a brief little moment. This is one character, like, he's well played. He adds an interesting aspect to the film. I would have loved to have seen his presence maybe a little bit more, especially considering the revelation that does come up, because he's brief, he's intimidating, he's uncomfortable, he's awkward, and then he's gone. And they're in the city. They've arrived at this little town, which is, the main centerpiece for the rest of the film. But I really just feel like we could have used a little bit more of this guy, because other than that, he feels so just like basically he's a plot device,
Yeah, I expected him to pop up again throughout the film. Like during the big climax, it would have made sense for him to appear, right? Especially considering what is revealed at the very last shot of the film. But yeah, so they get to this town. They get to it's called Ambrose. And talk about a picturesque little town, Roger. This little town has it all. It has a pet store with puppies. It has a movie theater that's constantly playing Whatever Happened to Baby Jane.
Did they create this town for us, Troy?
I would fucking live here in a heartbeat, Roger. We could live in, we would be at that movie theater every fucking day reciting Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. I wrote a letter to Daddy. Oh, we'd have a gay old time.
Gay.
You dressed as Betty Davis. Oh, fuck. Me in a wheelchair.
Oh, my God. The only people in this town, by the way. The only people, but we'd be living it up.
But the rest of the group, we find out, are stuck in traffic. I mean, they are in a traffic jam, and they are not going to make it to the game, to Blake's dismay. And the rest of the group is just like, turn the fucking car around. Let's go back and get Carly and Wade and just call this a bust.
such a brief moment. I mean, it just flies by. They did not want to cut away to these people. They give you like a brief aerial shot of a highway. You're in the vehicle for a second, and then you're right back in that fucking wax town. And you know, let's just take a moment to acknowledge, since this is really the focal centerpiece of the rest of the movie. If we're going to talk about impressive sets and ideal locations to set a horror movie, this film is, I would almost put it on par with a movie like a film I love, 13 Ghosts, where the centerpiece for the film is really almost, dare I say, the strongest aspect of the movie. Now, I'm not going to say it's the only strong aspect of this film. There's tons of aspects of this movie that make it stand out. But this town is expertly crafted. It's so creepy. They managed to make it feel like it's alive and active when it really is not. And there's these little details scattered all throughout it that make it just seem like, you know, if you and I were walking through this town, I can see being like, this place is fucking creepy as all hell. I don't want to be here very long. But I also buy that this is a small town that is currently active. Like, I'm not going to think that there's really some big hidden scheme going on here, you know? They did a really good job of creating an awesome environment for this movie, and that is a huge aspect of why this film works so well.
Well, I'm going to be steadfast in my opinion that this film has one of the best set pieces of modern horror with this town. And with the wax museum, I think it's stunning. I mean, atmospheric, stunning, visually just a feast to look at. And you're right, creepy. But I mean, this is an expertly designed set, and I love it. It's one of the reasons why I am so fond of this film is the setting of the film. And you get to see it because Wade and Carly, they walk through this little town, and it's so picturesque. Kind of reminds me of something like a Galena, Illinois, or something. There's a pet store. They go over to the window, and we actually see puppies moving around. There's a gas station. They go to the gas station. Nobody's there. There's the giant house of wax, which is kind of like the main attraction of the town. And then Paige calls Carly to tell her that they're heading back and they're going to meet them up at the end of the road where the road ends, where they're going to have to get out.
So knowing that the others are heading back, it does give this kind of great sense of like, oh, okay, you know, there's going to be higher stakes here, because if there is a moment where it's just these two siblings waddling around this town, and they make usage of every aspect of this town. Another thing to acknowledge: it's not like you're just in the wax house. No, you're in this whole fucking environment. I do find it shocking, like when we come to realize what's going on here. I find it surprising that they can't tell that a majority of the things in this town are made of wax. I think that would be rather evident. but but okay, it's a thing. But you know, they do find this gas station, which is a real active live gas station, or so it seems. They walk inside; it's filled, but there's nobody there. You know, they've got all of the supplies. It's made to look like this place is technically active, but it does seem like this whole place is abandoned for a moment until we are finally introduced to the first townsperson, and that is the character of Bo, who is coming into play here. He is in this church sequence coming up that the kids are led to this church where they think it's active. They open the door and they find out that they're walking in on a funeral. And I really love this whole setup, specifically because this location does come back into play in an expert fashion. But for this introduction of the character Bo, I really love how he immediately is manipulative and weaving a whole kind of lie that seems like something like, you know, that he's crafted this specifically to lure people into the scenario and pretty much unleash a scheme upon them. You learn a lot as the movie goes on, but like, let's just acknowledge that this character of Bo, is very manipulative. He is someone who seems in a lot of ways very trustworthy at first, only to become a rather intimidating opponent. And I really can't emphasize just how hot this fucker is. Like, in the world of hot villains, this guy, I mean, he takes the cake. I think he's so sexy in this role.
Mm. Well, I think it has a lot to do with the aggressiveness of the character. He's definitely very masculine and manly, and just like no bullshit. He's a good foe for Nick because they're very similar. They have that rough exterior. They're very aggressive naturally, and I think that it makes them really good opponents. Yeah, because they walk in and they think that there is a funeral going on because Bo is kneeled next to a casket. We get that very disapproving look from the pastor, which is kind of funny when you think about it. But then they're like they say they're sorry. They go out, and when Bo comes out, they apologize. They're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, we should not have walked in." And Bo's like, "Yeah, you shouldn't have." And Wade's like, "Well, we're looking for Bo. We were told that he owns the gas station." She's like, "Yeah, I'm Bo," and he's just very like he seems very pissed off that they interrupted a funeral, which I would be too. Wayne mentions he needs a fan belt, and Bo says, "You interrupted a fucking funeral for a fan belt." And they apologize again, and he's like, "You know what? Let me put that basket in the ground, or let me put this casket in the ground, and I'll help you out." So in a few seconds, Bill comes back out and apologizes and tells him that he will take them to he'll take him back to the gas station in 30 minutes. He's obviously smitten with Carly and her wife beater because he's just staring at her very, very, big old grin on his face, looking at her chest and everything. And even when he leaves, Wade says, "Oh, I guess your fans club's gotten a little bigger." I mean, he's obviously not impressed.
And lest we forget a strawberry blonde, borderline brunette, I guess an auburn. Elisha Cuthbert did that. So used to her being platinum blonde. This is the only time I've seen her with darker hair, and God, she looks good. I will acknowledge here, up to this point, I feel like the character of Wade has felt like he's been underutilized. Like he's there to kind of play opposite of Nick, and almost have kind of a rivalry, if you will. But he's really just not brought a ton to the table. I do appreciate that at this point, now that Bo is introduced, and is introduced in almost a charming way. Once he apologizes, he seems like he's going to help them. He's making it sound like he's forgiving them of busting on the funeral, and he's being pleasant and making small talk, and so for a second they think things are going fine, but you could tell that Wade is still suspicious and suspect of this guy, and so I like that he's asking questions. He's questioning different things about the city. He's keeping the conversation going, and he's kind of starting to do his own sleuthing a little bit. So I do feel like his character is starting to stand up a bit as a little bit more of a capable, competent individual. Unfortunately, it's kind of short-lived with what's about to happen here with him.
Oh yeah, I was going to say it doesn't last. It doesn't last because she agrees to go check out the House of Wax with him, and then we cut to someone somewhere listening to opera while sculpting a female wax figure complete with big old bosoms. They get to the House of Wax, and as they kind of get to the door and try to open it, Wade scrapes it and realizes the house itself is made of wax.
I would not be comfortable, Troy, entering a house completely constructed out of wax. I'm there. That cannot be something that's complying against like rules and regulations. Like, how is that like by following code at all?
How is it sustainable? Like I had so many questions. Like this entire house is sculpted from wax. Like I don't know that I'd be wanting to live there, but apparently it's perfectly fine with these people because I mean this is a full-fledged furnished house as we find out when they go in.
They're in Louisiana, though, Troy. Like, they're in hot climate. Like, they made comments about it already. So how is this house not just wilting? Like, how is it not just naturally sinking into the ground? Because it's not plausible. Like, let's be real. The wax house, it's a problem. It's a great fucking set piece. But this exists for the world of cinema and cinema alone, and it could not exist in a real climate.
No, particularly since this was built in the 70s or this, yeah, it would not still be standing. The heat, this thing would be crumpled. But they go inside and they examine it. Roger, this thing is decked out with wax figures. There's news articles about Trudy's wax figures winning at the fucking state fair. There's news articles about Trudy and her husband having their first child. Even Carly makes the comment. She's like, since when did a fucking wax maker become a celebrity?
It's a big to-do in this fucking town, but it also makes sense because the town is literally about 6 or 7 buildings. Like, it's not a big town. But this film, more than any other film I've ever seen, loves to plant Easter eggs. Like, everywhere these fuckers look, there is something that's hidden to Trudy, telling some backstory, giving us the viewers some tidbit of information. Like, this, every item this family owned must be existing within this wax house, because they're finding photos, they're finding like documents, they're seeing different objects, they're seeing baby chairs, and they're always scattered. Like, they're always present. It's not like it's like a one-time thing. And I do like it. Like, I do like it that you keep absorbing information on this family and specifically these two brothers, and that they keep introducing visuals to keep that in your mind. But I mean, it's pretty heavy-handed.
Very heavy-handed. Yeah, we see the height chair, the 2 height chairs, the one that says Vincent that has like handcuffs on it and shit. I do like this little moment where they see a dog, and Wade thinks it's a wax figure, and he bends down to touch it, and it fucking barks at him.
I would be uncomfortable that there is a dog in this building too. Like, I would be like scared that dog was gonna bite me.
I know nobody's been around, but there's a fucking live dog in this building?
That's weird. That's weird. I do find it impressive, Troy, that this location, as soon as things become foreboding, because there is this moment where she thinks that she sees a figure in a reflection. Well, she does. She actually sees a figure watching them in the reflection of a mirror. And so Wade goes to chase after this person and leaves Carly alone in the building. And literally just through some adjustment in like shadow and lighting and great cinematography, this location instantly morphs into something that's honestly rather terrifying. This location is both visually impressive and extremely ominous, and like I said, foreboding. And there is a great fear factor that comes from them just being within this building, because you know there's something to come from it. But yeah, this location really lends to this genre specifically. They built this for a horror movie. They take advantage of it. Every item that's in it, all these wax dolls, all the angles, they keep cutting to them because you know there's something going on with them, and they take full advantage of how awesome this place looks.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We get a visual, like I said, a visual feast for our eyes with every set piece, every prop that we get to see. And I think anytime you have a setting that is filled with mannequins of some sort, it automatically amps up the creepy factor like 1000%. Again, I'm talking about a film like Tourist Trap, or even something to a lesser degree like Hide and Go Shriek, where the final 20 minutes of that film, the killer has set all of these different mannequins throughout the store in different positions, and it's super creepy. I mean, anytime you have figures that you see silhouetted in the shadows and you don't know if it's a real person or not, it just amps up that suspense quite a bit. There is a moment where Carly goes into the kitchen and Wade like knocks on the window and scares her, so she turns around and she runs into this fucking disfigured cook fucking mannequin and screams and knocks it over, and that's poor head shatters, and she gets the fuck out of there.
What a great startle moment too, because it's truly the first time that we've had a really good scare, and the face of this maid or whatever it is like partially melted again because of that fucking heat. No wonder. But they really they create a great jump, and she books from the building. She reconnects with him. And you can tell that now she's like, I do not want to be in this town anymore. Like, the mood is shifted.
I don't blame her. We cut to Nick and Dalton taking a piss. And Roger, I'm gay, and I don't stand this close to a male friend of mine to piss. Like, these two are very close to each other with their dicks out pissing.
Oh, there are some homoerotic tones for sure. They don't go too far with it. This was 2005, but there are 2 separate points where they crack a rather light gay joke, and it doesn't feel like it's really meaning anything too negative. If anything, it's just almost implying something about the guys, because you've got this moment here where Blake walks up to them and he's like, you guys gonna have sex? And they turn around and they're like, he's like, because we are. But it's like this great little like a homoerotic undertone. That's exactly what the fans want. Like, come on. Like, let's acknowledge who's coming back to this film now in 2024 and watching this movie. It's the gays. That's for a reason, because these boys look good.
Oh, absolutely. So yeah, because Blake wants to have sex with Paige. He's like, yeah, we're having sex. So he sends Nick and Dalton off to go pick up Carly and Wade. So yeah, so that's it. That's that. They are gone. Paige and Blake are kind of out of the movie for a while, and we are now back with Wade and Carly, who are in the gas station looking for a belt. There's a little bit of comment or a little bit of dialogue about Wade wanting to know why Nick has beef with him. Carly says, he has beef with everyone. Don't take it personally. He just plays heavily into the stigma that he's been the evil twin. Wade does find the fan belts, but realizes they don't have the right size. So he grabs a 16-inch just as Bo shows up and asks them if they're stealing it. And Wade said, no, 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 of course not. I left you some money on the counter, even though you don't have the right size. This is a 16-inch. I need a 15-inch. Bo picks up on this and says, well, I do have 15 inchers at the house if you want to go back and get them with me. Mm-hmm. I would be suspicious. I would be suspicious.
Of course I would be suspicious. And Wade is suspicious. He says you keep him at your house, and he immediately has an answer ready. Bo is like, oh, well, I have to have him shipped to my house because there's special order. And so he's always kind of got something prepared, because I'm sure this ain't his first rodeo when it comes to fucking randoms walking into this town.
Since when is a fan belt a special order? 15 inches seems like it'd be pretty damn common to me. This guy's so full shit, but they go along with it. And as they're walking back to the house, Wade mentions that the House of Wax was pretty cool. And Bill's like, oh, you went in? He's like, yeah, it was pretty awesome. And Carly's like, yeah, I just noticed that most of the pieces were made by someone named Vincent. Who is that? And then he tells her the story that Vincent was one of Trudy's kids. And she asks, oh, are they still around? He's like, no, no, no. It's a tragic story. So we get the story that Trudy moved to this small town of Ambrose with her doctor husband because her doctor husband lost his license for performing illegal surgeries. So they get to this town and she needs to do something to make herself feel really important. So building this wax museum that was going to be like a major attraction was her dream. Along the way, she had two kids. Vincent was one of them. He conveniently doesn't mention the other one, the name of the other one. But then she developed a brain tumor, Roger, that basically drove her insane to the point where her husband had to like strap her down to the bed, and the townsfolk had to listen to her scream in crazy agony for all night. And her husband could not take it anymore. He could not take the fact that he could not cure his wife, so he blew his head off.
We've heard a lot of expositionary backstories in our time, Troy, and I'm going to give this movie some credit in the sense of a relatively solid backstory that is both intriguing and also like rather coherent. This backstory is one of my favorites. Every single slasher has it. There's always a reason as to the who, what, and why of why these things are happening, why people are dying. But this backstory, it's very sad. It sets up what is this sibling relationship, which is unique, to a certain extent to this film, not completely, but it is a major playing factor of this movie and why these people are doing what they're doing. But it's just really like, it's just a sad, depressing story, especially when it gets to the idea of her dying from the cyst and leaving these kids behind to basically take over the wax museum. And that's basically the story that's presented. But in the fact that it does keep coming back into play, and you do keep getting more and more and more of the backstory, it's such a major element of the film. It's such a presence over the course of the film. They really do make sure that, like, this is not a slasher that seems like it's aimless. There is a defined reason as to why these things are happening, and they really just play into it. So I really do like the setup for why this is going on, and I think it does create a really interesting and unique, what ends up being sibling versus sibling structure here.
Yeah, which is quite. I mean, the parallels between pairs in this film also is quite intriguing. There's several little moments, especially upon multiple viewings, where you do get like you said, Easter eggs that somehow relate to pairs or things being conjoined or combined together, and it's quite interesting. And I do like the fact that they ultimately they end up pitting twin against twin because it's something you don't see in a horror film. So they get to the house. Bo tells them that they both can wait in the car. He's going to run in and get the fan belt. But then he realizes or he remembers that Wade did ask to use the restroom back at the gas station. So he's like, hey, do you still need to use the restroom? Wade's like, yeah. He's like, come on in. You wait out here. Wade, we'll be right back. So the two guys go. They leave Carly in the truck. And when they get in, Bo says, hey, the bathroom's down the hall. So he goes. We get this little moment of revelation. Again, some of this stuff is interesting, but to me, it's just like it doesn't really go anywhere. I guess we're now supposed to think that Nick isn't such a bad guy after all, because we cut to him and Dalton in the car driving back to get Carly and Wade when it is revealed that Dalton actually stole this car that has been in question this entire time and that Nick took the blame for it.
Yeah, it baffles me that he's playing this whole asshole image, but he's so willing to take the bullet, and does so again for other people. I mean, literally in physical ways. He doesn't take a bullet, but he takes a lot of ass kicking. But there is this underlying current that he's really a good guy, and it's just such a contrast. It does feel a bit unnatural. But at least he's starting to transition to more likable territory because his character does desperately need that. Another character that's kind of straying into unlikable territory, though, I feel, is the character of Wade. Luckily, we're wrapping that up. But, do you notice how obnoxious this guy is? I don't know if you picked up on this, but in my viewings, they really play into, how... I dare I say ADHD? When he's walking through the wax museum and now when he's walking through the house, he's just touching shit, messing with shit, preoccupied with everything around him, and he just seems very distracted and almost kind of ditzy. I feel like they're almost trying to make, in contrast to Nick's developing likability, I almost feel like they're kind of trying to make Wade a little bit unlikable. Did you get that?
I don't ever think it verges on unlikable for me, but yeah, there's little moments where I'm like, he's kind of annoying. He there's that moment back in the wax museum where he lights his lighter and he's holding up against one of the little wax figures, and I'm like, no, dude, you don't go into you don't go into this wax museum and try to set something on fire knowing it's fucking wax. He does. I mean, he doesn't really bother me in that respect, and like I said, I mean, even if we were getting to that point, he's dispatched here, so at least we are done with him. And Roger, I actually think that it's quite I'm quite surprised, honestly, that he's the first one to go, because so far he has been a pretty prominent character. Carly's obviously the lead in this film, and it's her boyfriend, and so far we have spent the majority of the film with these two, so I actually find it quite surprising that he dies first.
You had mentioned earlier the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, and one of the aspects of that I find was a great comparison is honestly just in the structure of how they treat a few of the characters. Because I do think there are some parallels to how the story is told, down to that, that whole location that Paris goes through with all the abandoned cars. I feel like they take a lot of influence from that film and the success they saw from it. And so in the fact that the boyfriend is first to go, it feels kind of similar to how they structured Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But it does make for a kind of a shocking, well, not kind of, a very shocking moment. You did not anticipate this. And when things start to go down here, because it's hitting, they finally unleash what is a great, masterful understanding of how to execute a great horror moment, and specifically a kill. Because this first scene here, he is a major character and his death is treated like it. And boy, oh boy, what a scene. What a scene. Holy shit. I forgot how hard this scene hits and how long this fucking agonizing kill goes on for.
Oh, the whole setup. I mean, he, instead of going to the bathroom, again, maybe playing into this little obnoxious habits of his, instead of going to the bathroom like he said he was going to do, he takes it upon himself to snoop. So he goes into a bedroom and he's just snooping around. He finds a pig in a jar. And you're right, he's touching things he has no business touching. He sees a curtain and he pulls it back. And there's literally a surgical table there. We see a surgery degree for one Vincent St. Clair. And then there's just pulls back a curtain and there's this surgical instruments galore. Any surgical instrument you could fucking imagine is on this table. He's picking them up, playing with them. I'm like, dude, use the bathroom and get the fuck out. Remember your girlfriend? She's waiting for you
Oh my
in a
God.
car in this town. He is taking his sweet ass time.
He brought this moment on himself. Like, let's be real.
I agree. I agree. If he would have just used the restroom, left, this wouldn't have happened. Well, maybe it would have. It just wouldn't maybe have happened in this moment and this brutally. Now, Carly, Roger, she's getting antsy. I would be too. It's been a while. I'd be getting pissed. She gets antsy. She gets outside to stretch her legs. And as she's stretching, she notices the fucking pickup truck that she's sitting in has a busted fucking headlight.
Yes. Yes. Oh, she's putting the pieces of that puzzle together real quick.
She immediately gets back in that truck and she starts honking that fucking horn. Unfortunately for Wade, it's too late because the lights go out in the room he's in. And then he when he tries to leave, he realizes the room door is locked. And he is pounding on that door when all of a sudden, in good old Mountaintop Motel Massacre fashion, someone comes up from a trap door in the floor with some shears. Roger, I fucking hate Achilles tendon shit.
Oh. I can feel it in my butthole. My butthole clenches when this moment happens.
They did this in Hostel.
Yeah.
And they do it here, and it is someone getting their fucking Achilles tendon sliced. Not only once in this film, they do it twice, and I just clinch because yes, that has no. But he gets his Achilles tendon sliced. He falls back, and he falls back into the surgery room. He is grabbing instruments and swinging and shit, but. I mean, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this fucking long-haired figure storms out and stabs him in the chest with these scissors and then kicks him in the face. It is quick, brutal, mean. I mean, we are not expecting this to happen, especially to this particular character who so far we have led through the film thinking he is going to be the lead along with Carly.
Yes. And they have this whole moment where things go pitch black and it's very effective. It's also very, very dark. I'm happy they didn't overdo it, but it's just enough to, kind of, it almost like messes with your head in the way that they make it so dark, and the way they film it, it's like right up in his face. It's kind of trippy in a way. And when that cut happens, the Achilles heel cut, oh my God, it's the first time in the film that we're really getting to see some violence, and they've really not set it up so that anything has happened so far. So, I mean, in some ways, you almost kind of anticipate that this might be like a very PG-13 slasher of that era, because you're getting a lot of that. You're getting so many PG-13 horror movies at this time. This film is not PG-13. It starts with a bang, and it only gets stronger, and everything here with him being stabbed in the chest multiple times but still alive, and he looks up and he sees that mask, and it's all kind of just in and out of focus because he's starting to lose consciousness in that darkness. Oh, they make the most of it.
Yeah, it's jarring. It's jarring. Outside, Carly is getting nervous, so she calls Paige, leaves Paige a very detailed message saying she thinks I ran into that truck from last night. You guys need to get back here. Well, just then, Bo comes back outside. Okay, so Carly, Roger, I know you've mentioned this numerous times, but I just got to say, this bitch is one of the smartest final girls we've seen in quite some time because she immediately locks the fucking door. And he's like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm waiting for Wade. And he's like, you open that door. This is my truck. If you didn't open the door, I'm going to call the fucking cops. She ignores him. She's like, nope, I am sitting my ass right here. You do what you need to do. Unfortunately, this is a dude that you don't want to fuck with because he fucking punches the car window and breaks it and opens the door and tries to drag her out. And she's kicking away and puts the truck into gear, and the truck starts going down the hill, dragging him until he falls off. She's trying to control the truck. It goes off the shoulder. There's this cool moment where she tries to turn the headlights of the car on, or she turns the headlights of the truck on, and he's standing right there at the hood, and he like pounds on the hood. But she is smart. She climbs out that fucking back window, out the bed of the truck, and she takes off running.
any shtick that he's been putting on that he's a nice guy is now out the window.
Yes.
Because up to this point, he's been having these moments where he's playing it real nice. But what I like about him, because this character has extreme anger issues, and this is a very important aspect of who he is, because you just learn more and more just what an angry person he actually is. You've even seen moments prior to this building up to it where you've seen him break a little bit, like he's gotten really shitty with them, and then he's apologized, and then he's always kind of trying to glaze over and gloss over things and come off really pleasant. But at this point, man, he is an intimidating force in this film. And she is a capable survivor. And this whole chase that comes up here, where she jumps from the vehicle, she climbs through the rear of it, and she's running until he catches up to her, and he actually does catch up to her and just wrestles her to the ground. It's very physical, and it is borderline kind of rapey, because you're right, you mentioned earlier there's this really awkward sexual undertone where you can tell he's kind of lusting for her, and as soon as he mounts her and gets on top of her, it's cringy, and in a good way. You're supposed to be uncomfortable, at least as a viewer. They're utilizing it in the right way in this film, but he's very intimidating in a lot of different ways, because he is kind of rapey, because he's not stupid. He's extremely violent. He has weapons. You come to find that as well. And he just makes for a really interesting villain in this film, because this film does something really awesome. It gives you a slasher experience. You are going to come to find that you get that token mass killer experience that every slasher fan wants going into it. But it also gives you a very unstable, white trash villain who is not that, who does not follow necessarily the mold of the slasher. And so you've got two very different villains in this film, and I think he's in a lot of ways just as terrifying as the other.
Well, again, there you go. We can go back to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake parallel, because there are multiple villains in that. There's primarily two villains: the sheriff, played by Arlie Ermy, wonderful performance, and then Leatherface. So it's almost the same dynamic, even, because the sheriff character in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake is so fucking vile, so aggressive, and there's moments when Leatherface is more reserved, and kind of a bystander, and I can sort of get the same dynamic here. We cut back to Dalton and Nick, who just have this brief conversation. Dalton asks Nick if he thinks that Carly and Wade will stay together in New York, because he has noticed Carly looking at him and checking him out sometimes. Nick's response is, "It's not going to happen. Even if it's happening, even if it did happen, it's not happening." He says, "You like me more than Wade, right?" And this is the first time Nick is starting to shed some of this hardness, because he's like, Wade's all right. Wade's all right. And Dalton's like, "Yeah, you know what? Wade's not bad."
I really appreciate the way that they kind of play with intercutting from moment to moment here, because there's several things happening at once, and you come back to find out that Wade is still a factor. He's not fully dispatched, and in the midst of this development, learning that Nick is not completely a piece of shit, and that he does give Wade some credit, and that there is a chance that they could maybe be friends. You're cutting back into this moment where Wade comes to, and he's tied down to a table. And, what happens here is really, really very well introduced back into the storyline.
He's pulled. We cut to him being, right after Dalton says Wade isn't so bad, we cut to him being violently pulled down this basement hallway.
Yes.
Yeah, and then thrown on the table. And this long-haired dude wearing this wax mask sticks a needle into him and then starts, I know, and then starts sewing up his wounds.
Oh, this whole moment. And I'm happy you mentioned that you see him get yanked down the staircase, because it is worth acknowledging he gets pulled down this very epic, grand staircase filled with candles. And you start to acknowledge that there is that the basement of this house, that there is this like underlayer. And again, you get this very prominent wax element. This is kind of Vincent's lair where everything takes place. And so it's a completely different environment. But yeah, so it's just a really, really, really physically brutal film. And the score, Troy, we haven't given a lot of credit. But one of the things I love about the score when it starts to kick in, like, you got a few of your classic rock tracks of the era. There's no way you're not going to. The film ends with Helena. Like My Chemical Romance. I love that song. But for every gritty rock track, this film also has plenty of moments of very lush orchestrals, big choruses, big score. And this is not a time in cinema where I think of horror movies with big orchestral scores. And that's something I really love that this film did. It did not necessarily follow the typical mold. This film sounds much more like a classic slasher than it does a slasher of that era.
Oh, absolutely. The score is again so fitting for the film and just provides the film just another level of grandness because much like the setting is grand, you need a grand score to enhance that. And I think this is a perfect example of that. There's this also moment when when this long haired person puts glue all over Wade's face and then puts a cloth over and rips it out so it rips all of his facial hair off. It is you see his eyebrows and his like mustache hairs and everything stuck to this cloth that's violently ripped off his face.
Oh my god, the whole waxing where his eyebrows are removed, it makes, again, my asshole clench. There's a lot of really intense, lingering close up shots in this film. They often choose to not pull away. And like you said, where he's stitching up the wounds and everything. Oh, and it feels painful. Like this movie, it makes you as the viewer cringe and twitch and almost feel the sensations of what the characters are going through.
Well, not that's not the last of it because then he is hooked to a chair and some contraption. He has like this metal device put over his face. I mean, this is very elaborate. I'm not explaining this as well as the visual in the film, but I mean, ultimately, what ends up happening is he is bolted to this chair and then proceeded to be sprayed and covered completely in hot wax.
Oh my god, Troy. I mean, this device at first, when you first see it, you're kind of like, what the fuck is going on? But when you realize that this guy is getting doused in scalding hot wax, like, I really can't think of a, a crueler, nastier method of murder than what goes on in this film. These individuals are not dispatched quickly, and especially in this character's case, he is in excruciating pain from this point in the film all the way through to the very end of the movie.
Oh my god, yes. I feel so bad for him. He definitely has the cruelest, most painful death as we find out. It's I mean just watching him be doused in this scolding wax and he's just covered. It's just the sight of it, the visual is so wow. In town, Carly runs into the church for help and this is when she quickly realizes because it's the first time she's really approaching these people that everyone inside is a wax figure. And I there's this moment where she bumps into one of them and its arm falls off and we see that it is a very human arm, like the inside of the arm has tendons and blood. And she is like, "Holy fuck." And she takes a brochure out of one of the figure's hands, and it is a funeral uh, pamphlet for Trudy Sinclair's funeral. And she looks into the coffin at the front, and there is this old broad in a coffin. I'm wondering if that is that really Trudy? Did they turn her into a wax figure, do you think?
Oh my god, would you put it past them, Troy? They absolutely turned their mother into a fucking wax figure. Oh my god, this whole moment, I really love when she busts out. When you see the city come to life around her, you kind of see what this whole city is capable of doing, and it is. Again, it's raising the stakes. I always say I want the stakes raised. This film does a great job of that. But when she gets into this moment, she realizes that it's its mother laying in that coffin, and this whole sequence was faked, and he was faking them from the moment they got into that city. This whole thing was planned. Oh boy, oh boy. And so he busts into this room, and she knows that this fucker is dangerous, and she, again, what a smart girl.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he comes in and she's hiding, and he's like, "Sorry, Mama. These people just have no respect." He goes to leave, and I don't know how he sensed this, but somehow he sensed that she's in there and where she's hiding because I thought her hiding spot was actually pretty damn good because she's hiding under the robe of that disapproving pastor we saw when they first entered the funeral thing. We now notice he's just a wax figure that is forever molded with this disapproving look on his face. but he does grab her, and she runs out of the church. And this is the moment you talked about earlier. He chases her down, and he tackles this girl to the ground violently, gets on top of her, and then ends up lifting her up and carrying her to the fucking gas station.
Oh my god, this poor fucking girl.
But at the same time that she's being drugged into this gas station, Nick and Dalton actually get to the road where the road ends, where it's been waterlogged, so they have to climb over and walk into town. So they're arriving right at the same moment. But Bo, he drags Carly into this. I mean, he drags her into this gas station, fucking slams her down on this chair, starts to fucking duct tape her. Within this gas station where he actually takes her, is like this gas station also has a basement. It seems like all of these fucking structures have a secret basement because that's where he takes her. So she's down there. He's strapping her, duct taping her to this chair, just as she hears Nick and Dalton above. And she's trying to scream, but he holds a knife to her throat. And he's like, if you don't shut the fuck up, I'm going to cut your throat right now. Upstairs, she hears that Nick and Dalton decide to split up to look for them because Dalton and Nick have knocked on this gas station door. Nobody's answered. Nick is like, fuck this. We need to split up. You go this way. I'll go this way. If we win, we'll meet back here if we find them. And then Roger, you get this moment where this Bo takes a fucking tube of super glue and fucking super glues Carly's lips shut.
This sequence is excruciating, Troy. And I gotta give her some credit in just the physicality she's bringing to the table. Because, he's bigger than her, he's stronger than her, but she never stops fighting. She's squirming and thrashing, and when he's taping her down, she's arching her body like the exorcist trying to get out of his chair. And if this movie is one thing, it's fucking consistent. Because all of these things that keep coming back into play, taping her down to the chair, just like was done to the child in the beginning of the film. You've got all these methods that keep coming in over and over, and you could just see that there's certain things that these characters, these villains, have utilized and have done and are familiar to them. They know this area like the back of their hands, and it just, like I said, it's very consistent. But yeah, this moment where her lips are glued shut, and it looks fucking horrific. I mean, when she's trying to scream for help, it's just so sad. You hear her little squeaks, and she's just trying to get their attention. And then he goes up there, and Bo's immediately. I mean, he seems suspicious, but he's at least trying to get these guys out of the area, out of the vicinity, so they're not at all distracted by her. And there's immediately tension between him and Nick, and she's trying to find a way to get his attention, and she manages to bust her arm free and get herself in a position where she can reach up to the vent above her. And this moment here, Troy, I mean, as if the lips weren't already difficult to look at, seeing that poor girl with her lips glued fucking shut. What happens here with her finger, I think, is just fucking just, again, we're talking about ass clenching sequences. This moment is so cruel and painful looking.
Oh, this is the moment in this film that definitely has always stuck with me because I'm like, holy fuck, did he really just do that? We're not used to seeing our final girls be treated so fucking brutally. But yeah, I mean, he's having a conversation with Nick. Nick's like, I'm looking for my sister. Bo's like, I haven't seen her. And Nick he hears like her moaning, and he's like, what is that? And he says, that's just my dog. And then, yeah, she's sticking her finger up through this grate, trying to get Nick's attention. Bo bends down like he is going to tie his shoe. And all of a sudden, fucking Bo takes out wire cutters and fucking chops the tip of her finger off.
Oh my god! And we're talking a full nail. A full nail is gone.
A whole finger. And she is, I mean, we see her hand, blood is just everywhere. She is trying to scream. At this moment, Bo says, you know what? My brother was working this gas station earlier. Maybe he saw your sister and her boyfriend. Do you want to go back to my house and see if we can ask him if he saw him? And Nick's like, sure. And as they're walking away, we see Bo slowly pull out a fucking knife. And then, we get this moment close up of Carly ripping her lips apart. I mean, we see the strings of flesh, the
Ugh.
I could not do this. I could not. I would just live my life with my lips fucking
Ugh.
glued shut.
Oh, and it's like, I mean, again, we're talking about. I said in the beginning of this episode, you have a final girl who does not make it out of this without some serious scars, and like this moment when she's ripping her lips apart, like, oh man, like you see it for the rest of the film. Her lips are just open and pulpy, and it's just so disgusting. But she's resilient, and she manages to scream for Nick, and he hears it, and immediately, without hesitation, Bo is on him.
Yeah, Bo lunges at him. But because Nick is a fucking badass, he punches Bo, knocks him out, runs into the station. And again, Nick has streaks of being just fucking as smart as Carly, because he immediately locks the fucking door to the garage. And then he runs into the actual garage part and pulls down the garage door and locks it, because he knows that's exactly where Bo's going to get in. And he hears Carly screaming. He runs downstairs and sees her and is able to cut her loose.
Oh, I am really impressed with Nick in these sequences. I think when he's allowed to get really physical, it's actually some of his best moments. And there's that whole bit where he runs from one side of the gas station to the other, and he jumps up on the garage door and brings it down like with his body just before Bo busts in. And it's very physical. Like, he really handles the fight sequences and the physicality of this character so well.
Oh, absolutely. This is when, we start to, I think, maybe root for Nick. Yeah, we started out the film not necessarily liking him, but it is in these moments where we're like, fuck yeah, Nick, kick his ass, because Nick is a badass in this. I mean, he does not back down. Dalton now, we cut back to poor Dalton. He wanders into the House of Wax. He's looking around. We're wondering what's going to happen when he sees, very obviously, it's Wade sitting at a piano. And he goes up to Wade and he's like, "Hey Wade, what's going on? What are you doing?" And Wade's just like frozen. So he like kind of touches him and realizes that his face is wax. And at the same time, this scene is so creepy and just so like heartbreaking, because Wade's eyes are just darting back and forth. He can't move. And then we see like tears start coming down his face as Dalton starts peeling the wax away. But as he's peeling the wax away, he's actually peeling the skin off of Wayne's face. And Wayne can't scream. He can't do anything, except we just see these tears just flooding down his face.
Oh my god! And then when you see the side of the cheek come off, and you get that fucking like full jaw reveal, like, again, this poor guy, like, he's definitely alive through all of this, and Dalton being a fucking idiot trying to put it back on and just making it worse, and you're just like knowing that poor Wade is just in agony. It is one of the most painful looking sequences I can think of in modern horror.
Oh. Well, and as he's doing this, just out of nowhere, that fucking long hair figure jumps out, tries to slash Dalton, but ends up hitting Wade's face and like literally cutting the entire side of his face off. And we see like his teeth and jaw exposed. It's terrible. There's a chase scene. Dalton takes off running. He's trying his best. He's throwing fucking dishes, throwing plates at this figure. But of course, it catches him and like barrels into him, knocking him down these basement stairs. So he falls down these basement stairs, and as he's like crawling backwards, he runs into a wall. He has nowhere to go. The figure comes to him, like stomps its foot on his chest, and then has these two fucking knives that he plunges whoosh, in an X shape into Dalton's neck, and then pulls his body away, decapitating him. And we see Dalton's head kind of flop sideways and his eyes are blinking. This decapitation scene, ace. This looks so realistic.
Oh my god! Oh my god! And one thing worth noting in this film in general is the really, really seamless utilization of both a shit ton of practical effects and digital CGI effects. I mean, there are moments, let's be real, that are obvious CGI towards the end of the movie, but overall, like this head decapitation, that head, it rolls over and it blinks at the camera, and I mean, that clearly had to be digital. There's no fucking way it wasn't, but my god, does it look fucking good. Oh my God, one of the best decapitations.
Oh, absolutely. It's a brilliant looking effect. But that's the end of Dalton, the character that, you know what, we didn't really spend a lot of time with him anyways, but still a fucking brutal death for this guy. In the basement of the gas station, Nick and Carly hear Bo's truck leaving. So they go take a look. They realize he is gone. He's like, you know what? We got to get out of here. The car is right down by the road, but Dalton has the keys. And this is the moment that Carly reveals that she is worried that they may have turned Wade into wax. She's like, you don't get it. You don't get what's going on here. They're all wax. They are all wax. Everyone in the church, that's when I realized everyone is made out of wax. But then she remembers, hey, there's that lady that was looking out the curtain when we got into town.
Girl, you know she's wax.
I know. I'm like, come on. There is no. I know. I'm like, what are you doing? You know that this. You've seen wax puppies moving around, but they're like, oh yeah, let's go check it out. So they go to this house and they pull the curtain open, and yes, this old broad mannequin with her curlers in her hair. This would be me in, like, 30 years. I'm going to be this old fucking mannequin opening. My whole life is going to be confined to opening and closing a fucking curtain. But yeah, it's a wax figure on a contraption that it just every maybe like 10 minutes it pulls the curtain open and goes back. And Nick is like, "Are you trying to tell me that's a real person under there?" Yes, it is.
Ugh.
It is.
What better time to cut to a striptease, in my opinion?
Oh, okay. This striptease. And again, I mean, watching it now, yeah, I get it. They're trying to sexualize Paris Hilton for a very specific reason. But yeah, we cut to Paige and Blake, who we haven't seen for a while. They're fooling around in the tent. We have this, very, very, very mid 2000s, like R&B sexualized song on, talking about giving it to me and shit. And she does a little striptease for him. It goes on for quite a while. I mean, she has some moves, this Paris Hilton.
Yeah, but I wish they would have given her a little more time to have the dialogue that follows it than focus on sexualizing her. And, like, I get it. Yeah, I know. She's skinny blonde who was very much a hot piece of ass at that time. But, like, this whole bit that comes after where she tries to talk to him about the idea she might be pregnant. Again, like, she's super capable with her dialogue. She's very natural. Like, I would have just given it to her. Like, let her have this be more of a moment. Don't give her this cliche, not really even that sexy striptease. Like, they got her in this great red lingerie. Like, she looks amazing, but they don't do a whole lot with it. It just feels like it's obligatory. Like, they felt like they had to do that. I would have rather these characters have had a little bit more of a moment. Like, you're right, they've been gone forever. Now you're back. You get this brief attempt at approaching this topic. He immediately goes off, and thus he finds the phone, and obviously we're into the kill. I just wish they would have given them more of something to work with.
Yeah, I agree. I find this scene very just almost cringeworthy, and it's not because of her at all. But it's like they could have really established some sort of characterization between these two characters, and instead, you're right. We spend 90% of the scene with her doing this little striptease, because there is a moment where she is trying to tell him that she might be pregnant, and then again, his reaction. I'm like, dude, like, seriously, you're an asshole, because outside the stereo that they have, the little boombox is playing the music, and it stops. She's trying to have a really serious conversation with him. And instead of like wanting to listen, he's like, nope, just give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I gotta go start the music again. So he fucking leaves her, goes outside. This is when he notices that there is a message on their cell phone, and he listens to it. And it's the message that Carly left earlier in the film when she was basically in the truck. And then we hear the whole interaction she had with Bo and him breaking the window. Paige at this point has had enough of his shit. She puts that fucking blue robe on and she's going to sleep. And we get this moment where this figure approaches the tent, and we see just like the shadow of this figure inching closer and closer to her. And she wakes up and she thinks it's Blake. But then all of a sudden, the face comes into view, and it's that fucking long-haired, pale-faced wax figure thing. I mean, of course she freaks out. She runs out of the tent, trips and lands right next to Blake, who is laying on the ground with that hunting knife embedded in his throat.
While the scene leading up to this, and even Blake's reveal, I'll say, like, it's underwhelming. Like, it definitely feels undercooked building up to this, and then his character is just dead. But there is a great knife out of the throat effect here, I will say that. Everything that follows from here moving forward makes it so that, honestly, those minor complaints don't really even matter, because we are about to launch into, Troy, what is arguably one of the, well, I wouldn't even say arguably. If you argue it, go fuck yourself. But no, I'm joking. But overall, it is one of the strongest 2000s on chase sequences we have seen to date. And I know that this is kind of, I think, the piece that everyone's been waiting for us to discuss, and we just got to give it a proper moment, because, Troy, I know you and I both love ourselves a chase scene, and, like, I got to give this sequence 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10.
Easily 10 out of 10. We weren't getting a lot of big chase scenes in post Scream slashers. Yeah, we got Sarah Michelle Gellar's in I Know What You Did Last Summer. Perhaps Tara Reid's an urban legend, but nothing like this on this grand of a scale in this sort of setting. Like, the set piece for this chase scene is really fucking striking. It's so great. She's not just running through a field or running through. I mean, this is a major set piece that is built around and for this chase scene, because she takes off running. We do get the cool moment when the killer walks past Blake and stomps the knife further into his throat, killing him. But Paige gets to, like, this large factory. I don't even know what this is. It's just this huge factory. She gets inside. She is, I mean, and this is Paris Hilton is doing a great job here. The fear is palpable, tears coming down her face. All of a sudden, all of the lights come on, and she sees that there is a box of cell phones. Ominous, ominous, ominous. And of course, she tries them to turn them all on. None of them turn on. So she grabs a pipe with a very sharp end, and she is, like, maneuvering, timidly through this facility, when all of a sudden that fucking knife comes up through the floor grate and slices her fucking Achilles tendon.
Oh my god, poor fucking Paris, my god. Popular trope of the era is the very, like, standard, dare I say cliche, location that contains many abandoned cars. And, like, immediately when you see this location, like, what it's setting up, what it's implying, that this has happened before. She's got the phones. Of course, they're the phones of other people who have been, captured by these siblings and probably covered in wax, and that's why there's so many fucking wax mannequins. Like, it's putting all the story together. We've seen this happen multiple times before at this point within the genre. But my God, like, this is one of the best. This truly is one of the best. Like, we've seen it in Wrong Turn. We've seen it in Texas Chainsaw. But there's something about this environment that is just truly just, like, grand. Like you said, it's really, really grand, and it's completely constructed for this moment alone. But it's just such an awesome, unique, truly suspenseful setup, and the whole bit of the blade coming up through the floor grating, like, it makes this whole environment feel that much more dangerous. He can reach through any ladder, he can reach for her and grab her or stab her no matter what she is. She's fucking barefooted, she's nothing but those red panties, and she's arming herself with a pipe. And I like that, at least she's not running around helpless. Like, she's prepared to defend herself. Like, at least the girl's got some fight in her. She arms herself with a pipe, and she's smart. She's resourceful. The only reason that she ends up meeting her fate, her demise, is honestly because the killer manages to launch something at her that from a great distance that somehow manages to kill her. Like, truthfully, in a real scenario like this, like, she would have still been going. Like, her death is almost undeserved. But I do love that they give her so much time with this. It is such a big moment.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's not over yet. She hides. She runs downstairs. She hides. I mean, we have all these abandoned cars. She picks one to hide in. She's cowering. She's cowering. When all of a sudden the killer opens the fucking door and starts pulling her out, and she gets out and she's able to run. And she's ducking behind all these cars. It's like this long extended cat and mouse game where he's trying to see her, he's ducking behind cars, she's ducking behind cars. And yeah, you're right, it's just happenstance that she gets killed because he catches on to what's happening, so he stands still and waits. And the minute, not even the minute, the second she pops that little blonde head up to look to see where he's at, he launches that fucking spear. Launches it. I mean, and it's elaborate. It busts through the car, it goes through the car windows and embeds itself right in her fucking forehead. This is violent, Roger. She flies backwards into that fence and then flings forward and falls, like lands on her knees with her hands in front of her with this fucking pipe all the way through her fucking head. I mean, and these filmmakers knew what they were doing. They knew people were going to be cheering this moment because it's Paris Hilton, and they revel in this. They let the camera linger. We see it all to the point where when the killer comes downstairs or comes over to admire his handiwork, he fucking pushes her head even further down on this spear, and we see the pulp, the blood, the brain matter. It is fucking disgusting.
We do get another moment with the handheld camera, though I'm not going to complain about this because it does just allow it to linger all the more. Like, it just sits and focuses on the back of her head, and it truly is just gruesome. And they don't pull away. Like, it is a long, drawn out shot. And just seeing her go down in a very like oral sex position. Of course, they knew what they were doing with that as well. But like seeing that, clearly with what had to be it's all practical effects. Like the details here, the effect is so well executed. And it is worth noting that, right before she does die, there is that moment where Paris defends herself with the pole, and she does manage to hit the mask that the figure is wearing and damage the side of the cheek. And this does come back into play. So she does get, she gets one blow in before she does die. But oh, what a way to go out. Standing ovation.
Yeah, if she would have had a little bit better of an aim, she could have lived. But yeah, she just grazes the side of its cheek. But yeah, this is a fabulous, fabulous death scene. Fabulous. One of the best from that era. One of the standouts. I mean, again, these filmmakers knew what they were doing, and it pays off in spades. So Nick remembers. We cut back to Nick and Carly, and he remembers that was mentioned that something about a brother named Vincent. And Carly says, yes, he's the one that must have done all of the wax work. So Nick's like, we're going to go find out who this fucker is. And before he goes, fucking Nick is smart. He busts the window to the sporting goods store and takes a crossbow, a real crossbow. My question is like, if this town is all wax and these are all wax figures, why the fuck do you have a real crossbow?
Oh, I know. This was very strategically placed crossbow. But I do like, she's like, no, you can't do it. And he's like, fuck it. Like, this is a moment where his being a rebel comes into play, and it is of importance. And so at least they are armed now. But the moment that Bo hears this commotion, he shows up with a fucking shotgun. He starts firing at them, blowing out the windows, chasing them down, chasing them into the movie theater. And Troy, as though we haven't had enough grand set pieces already, like, come on now. This moment, too, like another standout.
This moment when this movie theater, all it plays is Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. And we get in this movie theater, and the seats are packed. And why wouldn't they be packed? It's fucking Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. That fucking theater better be packed. But it is packed with these fucking mannequins. Betty Davis is up on screen singing. She got a letter for daddy. Bo goes into the theater with a shotgun. And this is a very tense scene because, like, it's dark. The theater is dark. He is stalking through the aisles. Again, almost every seat is filled with a mannequin. He gets to the front of the theater and is looking on, and there's that moment where he spots Carly sitting there in the center, and she knows he spots her. He takes that fucking shotgun, aims at her, and shoots. She is able to duck just in time, and it blows the head off the dummy behind her.
Oh, God, this is such a good moment, Troy. And you know what? I noted this here specifically. I want to bring this up. I know you do not like guns in your slashers, and I stand by that, and I agree. But, I mentioned earlier that Bo's character is very different from Vincent's. And I think Vincent is here to service the slasher fans, but Bo, he's a hick. He's a redneck. He is somebody who would very much, I am sure, have multiple shotguns. And in his hands, it is very intimidating. And this sequence, I think, is all the scarier because of the weapon they choose here. And once those heads start erupting, because you know there's people under that fucking wax, and you start realizing that all of these mannequins are actually just corpses, and they linger. Again, they're showing the innards of these heads. Heads erupt, and you see eyeballs and jaws, and it's just so violent. They are just leaning into the gore of it all.
Yeah, and I don't mind the shotgun here because I do think that I think of these two killers as being very different entities, as you mentioned. I think Bo is a hunter, where Vincent is the slasher. So it doesn't really bother me, and I feel like it is a very effective weapon in this particular scenario. So I'm not like, it's not like it's not like a scene in Terrifier, the first Terrifier, when Art the Clown just randomly pulls out a gun and shoots who we think is the final girl in one of the biggest WTF cop out moments of a film that I've seen that really fucking pissed me off. It's not like that. So I don't mind it here, but yeah, I mean, it makes for a great fucking scene. And right after he blows the head off of this dummy, fucking Nick comes out of nowhere and shoots him in the shoulder with that fucking arrow.
Oh, I'm so happy he actually gets an arrow in. He gets two in. He gets an arm
I know.
as well.
I was just going to say, not only that is they run out of the theater, and instead of taking off running, Roger, like they could have ran, probably got back to the car. They fucking wait for him. Nick waits for him to come out of the theater so he can shoot him again in the chest. Like, I thought, what a fucking badass. What a good decision, because you guys could have ran and been out of there.
And there's a lot of moments that I feel like I've been like, oh, God, oh, they shouldn't have just left the body behind. Like, that guy's not dead. They definitely get an arrow through this guy's chest. And though he does come back, he is very much, wounded. He's affected by this moving forward. I do get pissed off that they leave the gun, though. I get there's no bullets, but, come on, don't tempt fate like that. Bring it with you. I'm sure there's more bullets in this town. If ever there's a town that contained bullets, this is the one.
Well, yeah, Nick picks up the shotgun. He's going to take it. He is going to take it. He picks it up, and when he opens it, he realizes that there's no shell, so he throws it back down. But he was going to take it. I give him that. So, again, they could have left. At this point, they could have ran back to the car or ran back to town. Instead, Nick wants to go back to the house to look for Carly's cell phone, because Carly did mention to him earlier in the film that she dropped the cell phone in the truck. So he tells her to stay there. She insists that she's going. So they get back to the truck and they look for the cell phone, and they don't find it. It's not there. Again, instead of leaving, they decide to go into the house to have one last look for Wade or Dalton, and then they will take off.
I mean, again, tempting fate. I respect the hell out of these characters. One thing I do like here is they've made a lot of good choices, but I think when they want to go back for their friends, I think it's genuinely because these are two, at their core, good people. I buy it. I think they're acted well enough that I think that they're genuinely going back there because if they can help somebody, they're going to do it. And I think that helps, again, with Nick. He's needed some redeeming traits. So now that he's a good guy, I mean, they're really making him a good guy.
Yeah, so they go to the back of the house. Carly does just find a conveniently placed baseball bat. I mean, conveniently placed, Roger. Probably one of the most conveniently placed prop I've seen in quite a while. It's just sitting against the house. So she takes the baseball bat and they go inside and look around. As they are looking, they do find some guns that are enclosed in glass. So they bust those out and try to get them, even though the bullets, she says, are in the wall. But as they're trying to get these guns, they're trying to figure out what they're going to do. She opens a drawer to look for bullets, and she notices there are articles about, Roger, deja vu, because we just covered a film with Siamese twins, about Siamese twins.
Talk about conveniently placed, Troy. Talk about convenience.
Not just any Siamese twins, Roger. Trudy Sinclair's Siamese twins.
Lo and behold, these photos are so randomly just in this drawer, and it's everything that she needs to know. She opens it up. There's a whole newspaper clipping. Then there's photos of the fucking babies with their heads attached to each other in a very dramatic fashion. And then there's even photos of them, growing up as kids, looking all homely with one eye missing. It lays it all out for her, and I'm thankful that they're right to the point with it, because at this point we're just worried about the action. We're worried about keeping the pacing, and okay, they gave us a little bit more information, and we're on our way.
Well, it could have been Belial. We could have had Belial back. That little fucker.
Oh my god, give me a crossover.
I know. But we realized that these Siamese twins were Bo and Vincent, right? Just then, Bo comes stumbling in, and both of them kind of cower and hide as he goes to the sink. He pulls that fucking arrow out of his arm. That looks so fucking painful.
Oh, I know, but why wouldn't you attack the man when he's pulling a full goddamn arrow out of his chest? He's bleeding out, pulling that arrow out of his arm. Come on, he's wounded. Take advantage. Just get up and use that fucking baseball bat. He's not going to be able to really defend himself all that much. He's got 2 arrows in it.
I know. That's what I was questioning. Why are they acting like they're so scared of him? He is literally on his last leg. He has a fucking arrow embedded in his chest. He's stumbling. He's obviously hurt. He's obviously in pain. This is the perfect
guy. Puking.
He is. This is the perfect opportunity to beat the fucker to death. But they don't. They hide. To the point where Nick is going through the house even more, and he does come across the room that has the surgical instruments that Wade found earlier. But he also realizes that there is a trapdoor that he opens up that leads into the basement. But just then, Roger, a pickup truck pulls up, and in the back of the pickup truck, we clearly see the bodies of Paige and Blake. And so does Carly, because she looks out the window.
I love me a good old returning the bodies to the base camp. You get it again. You get it in Wrong Turn. It's quite a standard trope. But God, these bodies look good, and I'm happy to see Paris one more time. But yeah, it's brief, because instantly the siblings are brought inside. One thing I just thought of, and I correct me if I'm wrong on this, but what is the film that we watched that had all of the houses that were or all of the different hotels that were interconnected by the underground tunnels? Was it Mountaintop Motel Massacre? Is that the one?
Yeah, I mentioned that a little bit ago. I did mention that a little bit.
No, I know, but again, it's just now even going through this, thinking about them finding all of these interconnected passageways and everything. I feel like the team behind this script sat down and did some homework, finding a lot of titles that felt kind of interconnected in theme, and I think it had to very intentionally weave this together, because some of these aspects of this film, yeah, they're really so obviously borrowed from other films of similar veins, while creating a story that's all their own. But I love that about this movie.
Yeah. I mean, again, I feel like this film feels like a remake of a lot of other films, just not the original House of Wax. And yeah, it definitely took inspiration. There's a lot of films we could sit here and pull out from this film that I think inspired it, but in a great way, in a good way, because this is definitely taking elements from other films and playing homage to them in a very smart, unique, original way that just pays off. So Vincent comes in the house. Carly's hiding under a pool table, and we get this moment of more exposition in terms of the dynamic between these two characters, because we really haven't seen Bo and Vincent together at all. Bo scolds him, and then poor Vincent is over there heating up a spoon so that he can smooth out the gouge on his cheek that Paige caused when she hit him in the face with the pipe. And then Vincent does tell him, you know what, Mom would be proud of how realistic your work looks. She would be proud of what you figured out. But there's 2 more, and we have a lot of work to do. So, and that's it. So ultimately what we are finding out is that Vincent is kind of trying to keep his mother's desires and legacies alive in terms of creating very realistic pieces of wax figures. He's going about it, though, by actually using real human beings as wax figures to make them look as realistic as possible.
I know this is a bordering on 2-hour-long movie, but you mentioned that we really don't see these two together much, and you're absolutely right. And I could have used a little bit more of it, not only to make the ending feel a little more impactful with their relationship, but also just to understand like the levels of manipulation and I think almost like Munchausen syndrome, like brainwashing that's going on here with Bo versus Vincent. Because Vincent, it's implied, is definitely like the more mild mannered one of them all, and I think that a little more explanation just to the impact that Bo has over Vincent, or the influence, or that overall relationship, I could have used just a little bit more, just to make that have a little more heft to it. You get what I mean?
I do. I really don't get any dynamic between these two characters. This is the only interaction we have, and I would have liked to have seen sort of more dynamic between these two, so that we knew exactly what the relationship was. Is Bo in fact the domineering one? Because in my mind, Vincent definitely seems to be a little bit more brutal. I feel like Vincent could definitely be the domineering one in the right circumstances, but we don't know because we never see them actually interacting together at all. This is it. This is all we get. So yeah, I think if that's one sort of weak point of the film, it is the dynamic that is created between the two villains, because there really isn't anything that strongly connects them strongly. We never see them working in tandem. It's just like, oh, this one's doing his own thing. This one's doing his own thing. Oh, here we have to have a meet at the end, and let's have Bo have like 2 lines of dialogue to say what's going on. That's it. That's all we get.
Yeah, I could have definitely used with more, but I'll take it. I'll bite the bullet on it because what we do get with the rest of the time here, uh, it's devoted completely to just what is a truly grand finale, and everything from here moving forward is just so intense and so high pace. And God, man, I really had a blast watching this again.
It's stunning. It is stunning. I love this. I love these final few minutes of this film because I just think it's breathtaking visually, and the set piece. Oh my fucking god! But yeah, so Carly kind of sneaks out from under the pool table. She's climbing the stairs to go upstairs when Nick comes behind her, startles her with his hand over her mouth. He's like, "We got to go. We're going to go this way." And he actually takes her into the basement, where we get this large generator swirling, and there's a panel on the wall that they start messing with, and it causes all of the lights. It's the controls to all the lights in the city, in the little town. So when they're messing with these controls, it causes all the lights in the city to go on and on and on and off. Bo sees this. So they gave themselves away. So now he knows exactly where they are at. Um, there's a moment when they go deeper into the basement. They're exploring. They find Dalton's hat. And so they realize, oh my God, they must have gotten him. And then they run into him, and he's in that chair, Roger, covered in wax. And Nick goes over to try to help him. And when he pulls that thing from his face, we realize that he had been embedded with spikes. Like this thing has spikes on the end of it that were in his face.
I don't know what he thought he was going to do to help this poor man. I mean, he obviously didn't know that he had been decapitated, but even still, like, he is covered in thick layers of wax. Like, did he think he was going to be able to help him? Regardless, it does lead to a really fun moment where he accidentally removes Dalton's head and is clearly very upset by it. You knew it was coming. You knew it was coming.
Poor Dalton. Yeah, I mean, to see your friends so horribly. Oof. But then Vincent comes in. I mean, we waste no time. Vincent comes in. A big struggle ensues. He knocks, Carly down, but then Nick is able to like hold his own. And actually, while they're doing this, like buckets of hot wax are getting knocked over. The machine gets started so that flames fly out of it. And he Vincent knocks him down, and before he runs out of the room, he dumps that fucking pot of fiery wax all over the floor to start a fucking fire. We have to mention fire and wax, Roger, are not going to mix very well, but it does create a visually stunning finale.
Oh my God. I mean, talk about a unique experience because there's really not anything like it. But to add that extra layer of like, not only are they being pursued by two villains, we've got siblings versus siblings, the good and the bad. Not only are they being pursued by them, but now you also have this aspect of this entire structure melting, and it's slowly melting. So it's starting to become soft. And as they're pursuing each other throughout the building, individuals start to sink into the floor. As she moves higher up to the next floor, it hasn't started melting yet, but slowly but surely, the walls start to get saggy. She's able to cut through different walls and enter different rooms, and it's just, oh my god, it adds this extra element to this finale that makes it so much more intimidating and implausible, but fucking awesome to watch.
I love the moment like when they're walking and we see that their feet are starting to sink into this wax because it's melting. It really reminded me of Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one when Nancy's running up the stairs and her feet start to sink into the stairs because it's like preventing them from moving very fast. They go back upstairs, and this is when they do see Wade, poor Wade, sitting at the piano, but they realize he's dead. And as they're sitting there like in awe of Wade, fucking Bo comes out and attacks. And again, there's a punching match between him. He actually knocks Carly out. He gets the best of Nick for a moment. Like he starts to choke Nick on top of him. And this is when Nick actually grabs the arrow, the hilt of the arrow that's still in his chest, and like pushes it in farther.
Oh, my ass clenching. And how physical is this fight, Troy? I mean, they're both getting thrown around. They're getting fucked up. He gets stabbed in the thigh. Is that not an artery where he gets stabbed?
Apparently, it must have missed the artery because, yes, Bo stabs Nick in the leg with this fucking knife, incapacitating him. And as he's getting up to like fucking get the best of Nick, Carly comes up behind him and she beats the shit out of him with that baseball bat.
Holy fucking shitballs. This baseball bat sequence is wild. And you see the baseball bat make impact multiple times. And while I'm sure there has to be some digital enhancement here because you literally see his head and face start to concave, it's pretty fucking seamless. And it is just, if we're going to talk about Final Girl stepping up to the plate, good God, she takes this fucker out in the most brutal fashion possible.
Oh, yeah. Well, Vincent comes back upstairs and sees dead Bo and like has a very, very guttural reaction, like screams, and fire is just spreading all around them. And Vincent immediately goes after Carly, knowing that she did it because she has the fucking baseball bat. And yeah, she hides in this room, Roger, and everything in this room, everything in this house is made of wax, apparently, even the doors, because Vincent's outside. He stabs through this wax door and begins to slice it down. And I mean, talk about maybe forced symbolism. There happens to be a sculpture, a wax sculpture of two babies that are mended together. And as he's pulling the knife down to slice the door, it actually slices and separates these two wax babies. I'm like, okay.
Oh, but it's a great shot. I mean, yes, it's over the top, but I mean, everything about this finale is over the top. Like, they're sinking into the beds. The beds are made of wax. Every aspect of this house is made of wax. And she tries to talk some reason into him, but it's short-lived. It's clear that at this point, Vincent is now irate, and his sole purpose now is killing her.
Yeah, she even tells him, she's like, don't listen. Bo was so wrong. You're not a freak. You're an artist. Please don't kill me. Like, you don't have to do this. He attacks her anyway. Like he's like, fuck you, bitch. He attacks her. I mean, they're on the bed. The bed is melting. Nick comes in just to save the day. Like pulls Vincent off of her, but then Vincent punches him and knocks him on the bed. And he's on top of Nick when Nick like reaches up and punches him in the face and knocks the mask off. And now we do see his face, which the whole, right side of his face is all disfigured from being separated from his brother.
We get a brief shot of it, and you can tell, obviously, it's literally Bo with now long hair. And what I'm assuming is a CGI effect where his face is like partially, the half of it is very distorted. It does look a bit CGI, and it's a bit. I don't want to say comedic because it's clearly the same actor, but in a long flowing wig. But I haven't thought of this until I watched it the last time. Seeing the mask that he's been wearing this whole time is basically a mold of his brother's face, which would make sense. They're fucking twins. There's even more symbolism in that than we've even thought to give credit. The fact that he's been wearing his brother's face this entire time, his brother having so much influence over him, and this final moment you see him, and then of course he does have this very dramatic death sequence where they are reconnected in a way. It is all very surprisingly poignant, I guess. Like it seems like it has so many layers of hidden meanings behind it.
Well, it does, because then what happens now is, he is, Vincent's on top of Nick with a knife, and he is literally pushing the knife. He's going to stab Nick. Carly comes in, and Nick is like motioning to her to get the knife from his leg. She pulls that fucking knife out of it. Did you see how long that fucking blade was?
Oh my god, that blade.
I mean, it's huge. She pulls it out of his leg and then stabs him in the back with the knife, and then they kick him, or Nick kicks him, and he falls back, falls through the floor, because at this point, I mean, everything is melting, falls through the floor and lands right on top of Bo, like literally right on top of him. And at this moment, wax, everything is melting. There's a moment where we see just the hot wax overtake, Bo and Vincent, and it's literally and figuratively, it is molding them together again. Like they are now stuck together again in death. Again, very symbolic. But yeah, the place is fully engulfed. So Carly and Nick have to run out. And yeah, the floor's caving in around him. We're talking, this is extravagant. This fire is everywhere. This whole thing is engulfed. They end up getting out by literally digging through the exterior wall, coming out of the House of Wax sign that's on the front of the building. They fall out, and they get out just in time to see this huge fucking structure just start to melt and collapse on itself. It is so just grand. I love it. Love it.
Oh my god, so grand. It's comparable to the Titanic. That final moment where Rose and Jack look at each other and take that breath before it fully goes submerges underwater. It's such a big moment. And yes, again, it's extreme. It's very over the top. Of course, they're on the House of Wax sign as it's the last part to melt before they jump off. But it feels it's such a perfect conclusion. It truly is one of the grandest payoffs we've gotten from a slasher to date. Every element of the finale is a danger to the leading characters, including the environment that they're in, and seeing them covered in wax, wounded, bruised, as they watch this thing literally physically melt before their eyes. It seems like such a perfect conclusion.
It is a perfect conclusion. I mean, we get to watch this whole structure just collapse and melt and wax. I mean, the wax is everywhere. It's like running down the street. It's so extreme. But I love this finale. I mean, the whole idea of Vincent and Bo being like molded together again after this. That's why I really wish that we would have spent a little bit more time with the relationship, because I think it would have made the idea of them being stuck together again in death a little bit more poignant. But because we don't really know much about the relationship, it's a cool aspect, but I think it could have had much more of an emotional impact.
Absolutely. I agree on that. Now, that is the one reason I would have loved to have seen a little bit more. But luckily, they have been spoon feeding us through the whole course of the film, visuals and imagery and things hinting at their relationship. So at least we know. It's not like we went into this completely blind. We just didn't get to see the actors actually interacting with each other. But I mean, technically, I do believe it is the same actor playing both brothers. Like when he's unmasked, it's very clear that it is Bo, just wearing that fucking long flowing wig. But I mean, this little moment that follows here too, even like some movies hit it, some movies don't. I like this little final moment that ties it up, as you have the sheriff show up, and you've got this whole explanation that they had no idea that this town was still occupied at all. It's so off the beaten path, they never would have known about it. They give you a little bit of extra explanation to understand why they went under the radar for so long. A lot of movies just don't choose to give you that, and I like this last little final moment with the two of them.
Yeah, cops are everywhere. The place is crawling with cops. Carly and Nick are in the back of an ambulance, and he's wanting to get the camera, the video camera from Dalton. He keeps saying, "That's my friend's camera. Can I get my friend's camera?" And they're like, no, it's evidence. It's evidence. Yeah. And then yeah, we just see the whole town now is covered with police officers. We cut to them inside of the ambulance now, in the back of the ambulance. He has the camera. He somehow got the camera. I don't know how, but Nick stole the camera from evidence. Don't ask me how. But they're driving away, and one of the deputies comes up to the sheriff and he's like, "Sheriff, hey, I need to let you know, Sinclair's, they didn't have two sons, they had three." And it's just at that moment that the ambulance that Nick and Carly are in drive by who? That fucking redneck that has been dumping deer carcasses in that pit.
Okay.
He has a
Okay.
big old shit-eating grin on his face, and he is just waving them goodbye.
Okay. I get what they're doing here. I see it. I'm aware. For them to just tack it on as like the last line of the film is a bit unfulfilling. Like we had said earlier, I could have used him coming back into play again and being introduced maybe in another way. You could have had that same shock factor just a little bit earlier in the film and maybe made him just more of a presence. Because even in the way they show him just sitting there waving them goodbye with the dog, like, where's the intimidation factor in that? Why couldn't they just say to the deputy driving them away, "Oh my God, that guy is the one that lured us here. Like, arrest him too." Like, I mean, I don't know exactly what his intention is with his presence there, because he's not going to get them. Like, he's not in the car with them. So I just don't understand why it's there, other than just, I guess, for kind of like that last surprise. But I just wish they would have explored it a little bit further, because I wouldn't say it's completely a satisfying conclusion for that character specifically.
Yeah, I want to know, like, because it just ends. Even something as simple as him getting in his truck and starting to follow the ambulance would have left me a little bit more satisfied, because there's that hint that maybe he is going after them. I don't know. We just end with him with a big old, like I said, big old grin on his face, waving everybody goodbye. So is he a villain? Is he not a villain? We get nothing. We get literally nothing.
It's too open-ended. It's too open-ended.
Yeah, we don't know. Like, maybe he's not a villain. Maybe, who knows? But it doesn't give us anything. So it's kind of a, I see what they were going for, but to me, it fell really flat. There was just, like I said, all he had to do was get in his truck and start following them, and then it could have ended. And I would have been, oh, cool.
Oh yeah, and even like if you look at Troy, like if you look at all the items and all of the photos and everything of the family's past, like, there's so many things there where they could have thrown in some Easter eggs implying that, there had been a third kid, or, you never saw anything more than the two high chairs. You always saw photos of the twins, but you never saw anything to do with his presence. And so maybe if they would have left a few more breadcrumbs, that when you go back and revisit it, you could be like, oh, fuck, I missed that. But you don't get that. Like, the movie is pretty void of that. All you get is the relationship of the twins and the relationship that the twins had with their parents. But like, they could even had it as simple as like the mother in the opening scene could have been pregnant, and just implying like there's the presence of another child, something. But his presence is never even hinted at within the family unit, within their structure, and that's what makes it kind of a hard pill for me to swallow, because there's nothing even alluding to it until you get that random line that's handed to us right as the film concludes, and it just doesn't feel like enough to make it satisfying.
Yeah. It just feels shoehorned in as kind of a, as a kind of a little twist ending, but to me, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. But again, it's not enough to sink the film for me. I still think the film is a visual feast. I think the film is paced extremely well. I think ultimately the characters, for the most part, are fun, likable, including Paris Hilton. Iconic death scene, literally one of the best death scenes from a slasher film after, post Scream by far. And again, I'm super glad that the film does seem to be, as time goes on, it's one of those films, like I mentioned, like Scream 4, that seems to have been redeemed in the eyes of horror fans, because when this first came out, it was a critical failure and it was a box office disappointment. But I think people now realize just how ambitious this film was, how, like you mentioned earlier, how ahead of its time it was for visuals and whatnot. I absolutely love this film.
Yeah, and I do want to acknowledge, like, while this was not a massive success, this did almost come close to doubling its budget. It was made on a 40 million budget. It made 70 million, so it's not like it was an example of a film that came in completely in the red. But like when you think of how heavily this film was marketed, because they did smear it everywhere, I'm sure they ended up probably losing based simply off of marketing and promo alone.
I'm sure that's the case. I think the film, I think it was one of those films that had a pretty good opening weekend, and then the following weekend it dropped drastically, and never recovered. And when that happens, that kind of sinks the film's chances of ever having like a sequel, because maybe they were trying to leave it open for a sequel. Give me a fucking sequel to this. But I think its performance and the huge significant drop after week one and the critical reception to it kind of squashed any chances for that. But I think people should be proud of this film. Everybody involved should be proud of this film. It's a beautiful film. One of, like I said, one of the best set pieces I've seen in a horror film. And I love this film. It's so fun. I just can't imagine somebody not having fun with this film.
Oh yeah, I'm going to say if people have major complaints about this movie, I'm going to suspect whether or not they're maybe true diehard horror fans. And I'm not saying that you can't be a horror fan and if you don't like this movie, I'm not saying that. But like if you're going to bring up major gripes with this film and not have gripes with other films of the similar era and genre, I think that there's an element of hate that came with this film, specifically, again, full circle, targeting Paris Hilton, targeting the pop culture elements of this film. It is a glossier, Hollywoodified movie, and I do think a lot of times horror fans are resistant to that. A lot of times we love our indies, and of course we love our indies, but there are also times that Hollywood gets it right, and I do think this is an example of a significantly bigger budget slasher film than the average of that time. And I think that they really managed to make something that, in my opinion, exceeds expectations. Amazing kills, great effects, mostly practical, talented cast, high head count, amazing set pieces. Like, really, like, maybe there's some complaints to be had about overall elements of the story structure and how that moves along, and maybe, like, certain focus being placed on some characters more so than others. Okay, I get that. But that's certainly not enough reason for me to say that this is a bad movie. No, because where it counts, for slasher fans at least, like, this film delivers so much more than most films of that era did. And I definitely think that it's a movie that deserves significantly more appreciation than it initially received.
And it's getting it, and I'm thrilled for that. So let's hear your thoughts on House of the Wax. Are you guys as enthusiastic about it as we are? Because I do feel like this film has a whole level of enthusiasm surrounding it now that it maybe didn't have when it first came out. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Is there anybody out there that actually does not like this movie? And if so, why? And don't say Paris Hilton either. I'm really curious to know.
Yes, so curious to know. And also, I'm curious if you are a fan of horror films of this era, but you don't like this movie. I'd love to hear, like, what are the films that you like, and what is it about this movie that maybe turns you off to it? Because yeah, I'm a huge fan of this movie. I've always been, and I just love seeing it receive the recognition it does today.
Absolutely. I agree. And Roger, we did it. We did it. House of Wax. We finally did it.
Finally, my God, it's all been coming down to this, Troy.
Again, guys, let us know your thoughts on House of Wax. And it's 130th episode. So like I said, if you want to do something special for us, leave us a nice 5-star rating or review. We will love you forever. We do love you forever, but we'll love you even more forever.
In the words of Donna Lewis, we love you always, forever, near and far, closer together. Troy, I'm so happy we finally tackled this film. Now, what's another big one we got to tackle? We got to take some time to think about this, because there's only so many movies that Troy and I both unanimously love and adore, and we're going to have to be very selective about when we drop another big one like this.
But before we go, Roger, I think we need to reveal what our episode 131 will be after everyone is done just reveling in the episode that is House of Wax. We are going to move on to something from around the same time period, a little bit more sinister. And I know, Roger, I don't think you've seen this one, because I know you generally aren't really a fan of found footage, correct?
I always say that, but then every time you bust out a new one, I fall in love with it. And yes, I've not seen this one, and I've had a lot of friends shame me and scold me because they say it's one of the scariest fucking movies that they've ever seen. Is that true?
It definitely will have scenes that stick with you. It's a very unsettling movie. I would count it maybe if I had to make a list of like 25 of the scariest films that unnerve me, I think it would be on there. I think it would be on there. And I can't wait for you to see it and discuss it. I'm not going to say anything else about it, but it is the 2007 found footage slash mockumentary film, The Poughkeepsie Tapes.
Ooh, get ready. I'm so excited I'm trembling because I know it's something that's going to make me want to shit my pants. And those are my favorite kind of scary movies. You got me when we watched Lake Mungo. I was so scared I was literally tearing up. I hope this one has the same effect on me.
It might, and just in a different way. Lake Mungo is definitely more psychological. This one is definitely more like in your face with its horror, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts on it. So, guys, with that, until next episode, we thank you for tuning in, and again, let us know your thoughts on House of Wax, and good night.
Oh, good night.